Needed down for what looks to be a bilateral meeting ahead of joint statements made coming up in about a half an hour or so. But it's pretty short. I want to get to what the vice president and the prime minister had to say.
Okay, welcome to all of you. Being so kind to me.
A little dip in the market, so I bought $2 million worth of crypto. So in total, last night, $1 million of XRP, 400 ETH, 750 of BTC. Blood in the streets. Dave's like a piranha. Dave's like a great white. Fins to the left, fins to the right, BTC everywhere. Get cracking, no pun intended. If you don't have cracking, get cracking. Now's the time.
About eating
Good morning.
And of
What's
course,
up?
Because the special relationship between the Americans and the Hungarians, now we have the American-Hungarian Friendship Day. And thank you very much that you are so kind to upgrading that day by your presence. So thank you very much.
How is everybody doing this morning?
I just welcome you wholeheartedly.
Great. Well, thank you. It's
Oh, it's a slow-moving morning.
Beautiful city filled with amazing people. Like you said, the relationship, friendship between Hungary and the United States is very important to us. In part because we love the Hungarian people and this amazing nation and culture, but in part because the president loves you, and so do I, because you're such an important part of what has made Europe strong and prosperous. You're one of the true statesmen. I would say
president
one of
loves
the true
you.
statesmen in Europe. One of the few people who could talk to people from all over the world and
So-
play the role of peacemaker.
Last night I had a live stream scheduled to go on at 9 p.m. For some reason I had my wires crossed. I got something mixed up. I thought the president was speaking at 9 p.m. Turns out he spoke at 1 p.m. and I didn't even notice until it was like 6 p.m. Though that's why I never showed up for the 9 o'clock. I think what I did is I got it mixed up with the Artemis, something going on with the Artemis, because I heard them say something about 1 p.m. around when they also said something about 9 p.m. So they may have been talking about both, and I got my wires crossed. So my bad. But it would have been fun too. There was some pretty funny stuff. Some pretty funny stuff going on there. Oh. What did he say? Something about if he were to go to Venezuela, he could run for president in Venezuela and win, and he'd learn Spanish. You know, love him or hate him, Trump's a damn comedian. Ooh, look at Bitcoin coming down. Look at that. Bitcoin crashing. Look at that. Fell below the 68. Are we going to go below 60? I think it's possible. I wonder. Cryptocurrencies could rise if Iran war ceasefire agreed. Yeah, they already said hell no. I just saw a few articles online, them talking about how there's a big surprise for Bitcoin coming, and how Polymarket's betting against Bitcoin currently. It's all to do with the war. Crude oil on the rise again, baby. Wish I had something to throw at it. Christ, I could make some cash. I mean, for every dollar you invest, you could make $10. For real. Like, if it goes up to 100 and, let's say it goes up to 150. That's $400 that you could make off of a $100 investment playing futures. So yeah, I wish I had me $100. I would dump it right in right now without hesitation. Dollar's running up. Silver and gold coming down as to be expected. Ooh, that does not look good, does it? Whew, that is more than a triple bottom. That also looks like some head and shoulders, although, you know, the patterns don't really hold much water when you have 5-minute, you know, candles going on. That's something you really want to pay more attention to when you have, you know, bigger candles. I keep the candles on 5 minutes because I'm a trader. I make them go lower as needed. Gold futures down. Stock heat map. Crypto space is down in the last hour. Last 4 hours. Last 24 hours. Everything looks the same. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, since the dollar is no longer... Kitty, God, fuck, shit. My cat just puked on the bed. Cat, fuck, shit. You're gonna have to give me a minute. Fuck. God damn it, cat. Right. Oh, Jesus. Right. Fun start to the day already, baby.
party winning a fifth straight presidential election, which in America has not happened since Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman over almost 100 years ago. So you've got people who strongly oppose the prime minister for being too close to Russia and for being allegedly corrupt. And you have many people who strongly support him for the growth that he's brought, for his support of Hungarian values, and for his willingness to keep migrants from the Middle East or from Africa out of the country. So it's going to be a very close election, and I believe that's why the vice president is here. Both sides know it is close, and Prime Minister Orban asked his friend in the White House, can you give me a little help? And the vice president is the help.
And I do want to get to some of that connection that the administration there in Hungary has with other world powers, specifically Russia, possibly other European nations as well. But let's touch on this last point for a second. Also bringing up some footage that we had moments ago, VP Vance, Prime Minister Orban. Realistically here, how much of an impact is Vice President Vance's appearance there at these rallies? How much do you think that's going to have as those voters head to these polls?
I think that's a great unknown. Both sides know it could have a big impact. Polls here show about 20% of the voters are undecided going into the election. And these would be people who supported Orban 4 years ago, but are not sure they want to support him for a fifth term. So it could very well have a big impact, but it's as former Defense Secretary Don Rumsfeld said, the known unknown. We think it'll have an impact, but we don't know whether it'll drive those wavering former Orban supporters back to him, or if they'll say, no, it really is time for a change. We don't want to be that close to the United States. But clearly, the prime minister believes it'll be a help. The sort of voter he's talking to is the sort of voter who backed him in the past. And we'll only see on Sunday whether or not the calculation is correct.
Always so many unknowns when we talk about elections, no matter where in the world we are. Let's go back to this other point, though, that I want to touch on briefly here. Hungary's relationships with the European Union and Russia. How does that...
For some sort of negotiated peace makes him too close to Russia. So the fact is that Orban has continued to talk to Putin when the rest of Europe will not. And so that's very much an issue in this election. And it's one that Orban is making. The posters around here have a picture of the opposition leader and Volodymyr Zelensky with the word in Hungarian, dangerous, over them. They believe that Hungarians want to stay out of the Ukraine conflict, and that the idea that he's talking with Putin is a good thing. Again, on election day, we'll find out if they're right.
The focus does continue to be the U.S. and Hungary, kind of their relationship. We also touched briefly just now on Russia and Europe. How are other European countries, though, likely interpreting or responding to this high-level visit of a U.S. vice president going there to attend and support a prime minister running for re-election in Hungary at a rally today?
I think they will be very circumspect about their public statements, but privately, I am sure they are furious. They did not like the vice president's effective endorsement of the German populist opposition, the AfD, Alternative für Deutschland, Alternative for Germany, in last year's German elections. They have been anti-Orban for years. I am sure privately they are seething, but publicly they're not going to say very much.
And we'll wait to see what kind of comments we get from the vice president and the prime minister later today. And also, Henry, what other European leaders may be posting perhaps on social media. That's something that could be coming up as they're also watching closely, I'm sure, this entire situation. And speaking of, we have just gotten a live look at the venue where Vice President Vance and also Viktor Orban are going to be making those joint statements. That coming up in just about 15 minutes or so. So, Henry, I know that you have a very busy day. Again, you're there in Budapest. You're trying to catch all of the action there. Any final thoughts, something that you think our viewers should be made aware of ahead of these joint remarks and ahead of that highly anticipated election coming up in just a few days?
Yeah, I would say two things. One is that the Western media tends to report that this is not a free republic.
Already
well,
got some
I just attended an opposition campaign rally, which was vigorous and which was open to the public.
Hopefully we are back on now.
And this is a democracy. This is one where the debate may not be even-handed, but it is open and free. The election will be one that'll show the true sense of the Hungarian people. As far as the American position here is, Americans want, it's clear under the Trump administration, they want a Europe that wakes up about migration, wakes up about great power competition, and wakes up about things like energy independence and the use of fossil fuels. They see Prime Minister Orban, rightly so, as aligned with them on a number of issues. And I think the Prime Minister and the President will continue to have strong relations, even if the Prime Minister goes out of power, because after all, there's another election here in 4 years. And
I do apologize for all of the technical difficulties, baby, but I'm back. Finally. Yeah, it's been a glorious start to the morning, hasn't it? First, the cat pukes in my bed. Then I come back and the internet crashing out. Speaking of crashing out, look at oil futures, y'all. Just look at that. Today's going to be an interesting day, for sure. Iran's ultimatum expired, 8 p.m. last night? So, I can't wait to hear about all the death and destruction. Right, so apparently J.D. Vance is meeting with the Hungarian Prime Minister. And, let's see, baby. Pull up Yahoo Finance. These people are so hit and miss. They're on sometimes, they're off sometimes. I think I'm the only person who does a news and live news stream with the stock market at 7 a.m. 2.5 hours before the market actually opens. That's just because, why not? There's some people that can't be on their phone or their laptop or their computers at 9:30. That's when everybody goes to work. So I'm happy to be here and give what I can for anybody who might need it, even though I may not be the best technical analyst. But I certainly will take direction from anybody who wants me to pull something up, or you want me to look at something in particular. I got you, homie. I got you. I'm going to kick up some of this meow noose. See what we can't get stirring today.
It's this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Coming up, why China suddenly got a leg up in the supply disruptions and rising energy prices game.
We're live from London with more on.
There was some Chinese official who made a video warning Israel not to drop any nukes. Like, they straight up said that if Israel uses a nuclear weapon, that they would nuke Israel. China straight up said, you guys nuke Iran, we're going to nuke your ass. So it's on. It's on. I'm telling you. Now, even though I think Iran needs it, I don't think it would be wise. I know I've said various things regarding the use of nuclear weapons. Notice how I said nuclear, not nuclear. So, yeah, while I may have sent mixed signals regarding nuking Iran, in an ideal situation, there'd be no retaliation, and that's the only situation where I would 100% approve. Then again, I don't know, there's a part of me that wants to call China's bluff, because the only way anybody could beat the United States is if they teamed up. And even then, it's not going to be so easy. We're such a big country. We're so spread out. Nobody would dare invade the United States. So, they would have to bomb from afar, and it would just be quick destruction on us. If they decided to nuke important regions, it would be on the East Coast. They wouldn't get to the middle. Their best bet would be through espionage and secret ways of doing these things. But yeah, I mean, I might not be the best world leader. Because I'm kind of the sentiment, fuck Iran. These assholes have had it coming for so long, dude.
Deep inside enemy territory in Iran, our warriors executed missions of breathtaking skill, courage, and precision. When our warriors are unleashed, as this president has allowed them to be, they are unstoppable.
That's right.
When American airmen were down behind enemy lines, our forces and our president did not hesitate. Special operators supported by elite air crews and intelligence professionals moved swiftly and decisively into treacherous mountain terrain under the constant threat of Iranian forces closing in. Ultimately, it was an impotent Iranian threat. And today, as the CIA director mentioned, Iran's military, and we know this, is embarrassed and humiliated.
Yeah, they are.
And they should be.
You're damn right.
Now, these are not routine operations. They were high-risk, high-stakes missions conducted in the heart of enemy territory. This was not just barely into Iran. This was deep into Iran, involving coordinated strikes to suppress threats, deception tactics to protect our teams, and full synchronization across air, ground, and special operations. The Iranians are still asking themselves right now, how did the Americans do this? One downed airman evaded capture for more than a day, scaling rugged ridges while hunted by the enemy. When he was finally able to activate his emergency transponder, his first message was simple, and it was powerful. He sent a message, God is good. In that moment of isolation and danger, his faith and fighting spirit shone through. You see, shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday. Flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday. A pilot reborn, all home and accounted for, a nation rejoicing. God is good.
Hegseth is a good public
Despite
speaker.
incoming fire and unforgiving conditions, our troops brought every American home. No American lives were lost. We leave no man behind, and that is not luck. It's the result of unmatched training, superior technology, an unbreakable warrior ethos, and sheer American grit. Our special operators, pilots, and support crews performed with near perfection under fire, and they were lethal.
Yep.
But make no mistake about it, none of this would have been possible without the courageous leadership and ironclad determination of President Donald J. Trump.
He's not wrong.
From the moment our airmen went down, President Trump made it clear we will leave no one behind. The first mission, the first of two, was an audacious daylight thunder run right up the middle. It was authorized in less than 2 hours from that pilot going down when we knew where he was. And it was authorized in the middle of the night, because anybody that's worked for this man knows he's up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Authorized immediately, without hesitation, audaciously. The second mission, as soon as we knew where that pilot was, and John was certainly helpful in that, also executed immediately. I looked up at my screen when the final mission was complete inside our SCIF, our secure facility. And we have a running VTC, a running coordination cell. And the top of it read 45 hours and 56 minutes. For 45 hours and 56 minutes, we held that call open for coordination. From the moment our pilots went down, our mission was unblinking. The call never dropped, the meeting never stopped, the planning never ceased. The president demanded rapid, decisive action. He backed our military with the full weight of his resolve, refusing to let enemy propaganda or tactical setbacks deter us. His leadership ensured that every lethal and non-lethal resource was brought to bear, that our forces had the authorities and the support they needed to succeed. When the president says he has the backs of our warfighters, he means it. And it means a great deal, and it's a big difference on the battlefield. President Trump understands that peace through strength is not a slogan. It is a doctrine that saves American lives. His unwavering commitment to rebuilding our military and restoring the warrior spirit has paid dividends in missions just like this one. Under his command, America projects power with confidence and brings our people home with victory. And that continues today, by the way. Per the president's direction, today will be the largest volume of strikes since day one of this operation.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, even more than today. And then Iran has a choice. Choose wisely.
You know
Because
they're
this
going to do.
president does not play around.
Yeah, they're
can
not
ask
going to
Soleimani.
surrender.
You can ask Maduro. You can ask Khomeini.
They're not going to surrender.
To those heroes who planned and executed these rescues, your nation stands in awe. I stand in awe. The chairman stands in awe. We all stand in awe of your professionalism and bravery. We serve for you. You embody the very best of America. To the rescued airmen and their families, welcome home. Your courage and endurance, the quiet declaration of faith amid the storm inspires us all. God is good every day.
Need to leave that shit out
And
of
to
our
our
speech.
adversaries
Speaking.
watching from Tehran, let this be a clear message. The United States military will go anywhere, at any time,
Good.
to protect our own and complete the mission.
Good.
We execute with precision. We control the skies. You see, we flew for 7 hours in daylight over Iran to get the first pilot.
Yeah.
And we flew 7 hours in the middle of the night to get the second.
And all
and
they
Iran
do is pretend
did
like,
nothing about it.
and they all just want to
We fight with
pretend
honor,
that they have a
and under
chance in
President
this
Trump's
war.
leadership, we win. So God bless our troops, God bless President Trump, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Listening in there to those latest comments from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth there regarding U.S. operations in Iran and some of those latest rescue missions that happened over the last couple of days. On your screen, we also had a live look coming out of Budapest in Hungary as we are still waiting for Vice President J.D. Vance to make some joint remarks with Prime Minister Viktor Orban ahead
this is
of
gonna be
elections
interesting.
coming up in just a few days. Elections there in Hungary. We're going to step away for a quick commercial break, continuing to follow this
Yeah,
and
but
more
we're
of your top
not
stories.
because I got some things to bring up. Bitcoin taking a pretty good plunge this morning. This is likely because nothing slowed down in the War Department. We seem to be amping up. If you are just now joining us, China straight up threatened Israel. I wish I could find the video that I saw, but it was a Chinese military official. I think it was a military official. Anyway, he was speaking in English that if Israel uses a nuclear bomb on Iran, that they, China, would use a nuclear bomb on Israel. Now, I think it's safe to assume that that message was meant for America. I'm pretty sure that was safe to assume that they meant, hey, you use nukes, we'll use nukes. And I've been pretty vocal about the use of nukes in this war. And as much as I feel like Iran probably deserves it, not the people, I gotta say that it's probably not a good idea. Right? Duh, right? But yeah, I don't know what the alternative is. A prolonged military action, because officially we're not officially at war yet, right? So yeah, I'm very curious to see how today plays out. So Bitcoin took a nice little plunge. It fell below these marks here. It fell below all of these. It looks like it's trying to come back up. Not sure that it will. If the war stops, if we halt things, it'll run back up. But I just don't think that that's going to happen. On the other side of things, oil right now is probably a hell of a good buy. I mean, I would throw a lot of cash at this if I had any. But I mean, when you invest in these futures, depending on your exchange, you can play these futures with leverage. Now, with Coinbase, just as an example, when you buy futures, it's about $100 or so, $110 to $120 a contract. It comes with 10 point something percent leverage, which means if it moves down 10%, you lose all your money that you invest. However, what that also means is if you throw $100 at this, it profits as if you threw 1,000, 10x. So if it runs up to $150 from this 114, that's a difference of about $35, but you will profit $350 off of a $100 initial investment. That's hello, you know. Do I think oil is going to continue to run? Absolutely. Is it highly dependent on what happens today? Absolutely. But once we get official word that it's on, and we might have already, I'm not sure who here's Trump. Let's listen in. I think this is from yesterday.
Striking more than 13,000 targets. The F-15 we lost last week was the first manned aircraft downed by the enemy in this entire operation.
Yeah.
And that F-15 crew rescued in the most dramatic fashion. It was an incredible operation.
It sure was.
So what's your take here on the popular sentiment, given just how much the operation is costing and the president's plan?
Hey, do me a favor and drop a like.
Exit?
Good morning. I think overall this has been a successful operation. I think we're at the point right now where we need to determine, are we going to continue with this war and make it a long, protracted war? Do we need
Hello,
ground
Aska
troops?
Arca.
That is something we do not want to happen. This is why President Trump has rightfully and correctly set this deadline. He wants to bring Iran to the table, and sometimes you need to exercise force to get to peace. I think the overarching concern here is the energy shock, as we mentioned in previous reports. Oil is over $114 a barrel.
Yes, sir.
Gasoline is over $4 a gallon nationally.
Not
so
where I
as
live.
we're heading into the summer, we have to be concerned about energy prices and make sure that this is not a long, protracted war, and this is a strategic effort by the United States and Israel to bring Iran to the table
their knees,
to bargain for peace.
You know, Robin, I want to tap into your military experience. You served extremely well, served America, that is, through the military. So I want you to actually, through your experience, assess Iran's current position. Anytime someone starts using citizens, asking them to actually join in the fight, that sounds like...
I'll tell you, I will say this. The United States is losing the meme war. Man, if Iran spent as much time on, logistics and actually planning instead of spending all their time on bullshit AI videos and propaganda, they might actually stand a hair's ass of a chance. But, come on. They might have a strategical advantage. They might have a strategic advantage, location. But that is literally all they've got going for them. Don't believe a damn thing coming out of Iran, and their news right now is so full of propaganda. It's ridiculous.
Militarily, they're very much depleted over there, and yes, they are asking their citizens to join in the fight. You know who else did that? Ukraine, and that war is still going on. That's what gives me pause for concern. The difference
doesn't mean it's going to go on.
Of course, Russia is trying to
means they're losing.
Ukraine, and their citizenry took up the fight. I just hope that doesn't happen here. None of us want innocent.
Of course not.
Innocent civilians harmed, and I'm sure. Look, I also want to give the listeners some, relief here. When the president talked about bombing bridges and power plants, that's his bluster. That's his typical art of the deal. Do I really think it's going to happen? No,
I do.
Usually,
it already has.
Saber rattles that way, and then what ends up happening is something far more strategic. And that's how all military operations are. They're very strategic.
We've already started bombing their bridges, but that's war.
Off the face of the earth kind of a mission. It's just what he's threatening now to bring them to the table to negotiate.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I don't think he's bluffing.
Robin, we so appreciate
right now. I don't think
saying that as a Democrat, because I feel like that point is lost in translation
time for bluffing
with
is
a
over.
lot of those on your side of the aisle. But of course, you have the military background. Thank you for your service. That you have the understanding that President Trump is not looking to escalate this war, Manny. Despite what we're seeing in the mainstream media, they're rooting for the IRGC to win. They're rooting for President Trump to act.
Yeah, it blows my mind how many people are actually supporting the Islamic Republic of Iran here in America. Look, I understand if you don't like Trump and you're not for war. I get that. I'm with you on some of it. You know, I'm not for war. Don't think anybody really is. But Iran is a humanitarian disaster, and I find it highly hypocritical for anyone to be talking about how they're behind Iran's Islamic Republic. I mean, what? Like, you know, we're all with the Iranian people. Nobody wants the people to die. That's not what this is about. I am all for 100% for death to the Islamic Republic of Iran on just a humanitarian issue. That's enough for me. Now, I know that's not the official reason we're there, but you know what? It's a damn good result. Possible result. Do I think it's going to happen? Well, the only way it will is if we absolutely decimate this Islamic Republic. They are nothing but pure pieces of human garbage.
And power plants.
Iran.
That he's willing to blow it up now. Well, you're looking at taxpayer dollars potentially footing the bill to rebuild Iran's infrastructure. Well, that's what the Democrats are saying. But politically,
I'm seeing people saying World War III is coming. Honey, we're already in it. We're already in World War III. It's been going on. It's been going on. They're killing Christians in Africa. North Korea, little rocket man over there is apparently, allegedly, been talking about siding with the United States. You don't know what to believe. I have to be careful of places that I quote because there's so much absolute BS, especially on social media. Just don't buy anything that Iran is selling, man, because they are so full of it. They are so full of it.
Let's not do this. I hope it doesn't come to this. But I will say, I've got to be intellectually honest here. It's what we've always done. I fought in Afghanistan.
I see someone asked if Iran or America will win. Well, in war there are no winners. Okay, let's be clear about that. There are, however, losers, and Iran is going to lose, providing we stay in there and hammer them properly. I do not think that we need to pull out. We damn sure better not give in to their demands. But I guarantee you one thing Trump won't do. Trump isn't going to send them a pallet full of cash.
5 points. So Democrats are just simply put running behind their previous benchmarks, and they need to be running well ahead of them if they want to take back the United States Senate, given that math.
Manny, you're a GOP strategist. What do you make of the issues that we're facing right now that is giving the Republicans a lead?
I think overall things in this country are quite good. Tax day is coming up very shortly. The tax code was adjusted with the big, beautiful bill, which is great. People are getting refunds, largest refunds they've received in many years. The economy is actually doing quite well. People are working. People are quite successful.
My economy is sucking it.
Egg prices are down. Remember, that was a big issue. The cost of groceries has gone down, right?
Yeah. Eggs were only high because we culled millions of chickens. There was something going on. It had nothing to do with Trump or Biden. Well, actually, Biden was the one, under his administration is when all the chickens had to be culled, and then we had to wait on a new crop a new crop of chickens to grow up and become of age to lay eggs. That is precisely what happened. That is precisely why eggs ran up to almost $10 a dozen last year. It had fuck all to do with Trump, despite what everybody would be led to believe. Gas prices right now, yeah, they're a little high, but you know what? There were moments when it was way higher under Biden, so, you want to bitch about, you want to throw up your dumbass little stickers about, I did that at the gas pump. Shut the fuck up. Have a good day, Azra Arca. Thank you for coming again.
and things in this country are actually good and stable.
Interesting. Well, Robin, we care about what you think, but right now, I want to know what Mama Byro thinks of the Democrats' chances in November.
Yeah, they need to come off of some policy. That's what they need to do. They need to start talking about policy. Can't think of one Democrat policy I've heard in the last year. Have you?
Available. The efforts of the United States military, the Central Intelligence Agency, and others were attempting to find and locate with precision Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater. A note on the backseater and the front seater.
What?
The single most important contributor to a successful rescue operation is the spirit of attack inside the heart of that downed aviator. Their will to survive, their will to evade,
something new?
Their will to recover is everything. In this case, the backseater's absolute commitment to surviving made much of our efforts possible. On Saturday, 4 April, after establishing positive communications with the backseater, we learned, as the president said, that he was injured and actively evading enemy forces. And thanks to our interagency partners, we were able to get eyes on his location and positively ID him. Throughout this entire time, the enemy force continued to search for 44 Bravo, and the joint force continued to strike them over and over and over again.
Yep.
Fighting off marginal weather in Iran and the enemy's search for a second time on Saturday, at the recommendation of the CENTCOM commander and at the approval of the Secretary and the President, we launched a rescue task force to recover Dude 44 Bravo. Again, this came to the President and the Secretary for approval, this time with a much larger force package based on the time that the enemy had to prepare to find 44 Bravo.
Yeah, and then we screwed them all up.
This force was protected by A-10 Warthogs using the Sandy call sign. And this force had one single mission: do everything they can to bring an American home.
Yes, sir.
This meant having a plan, being prepared to execute that plan, and more importantly, being prepared for multiple simultaneous contingencies. And because of this force's professionalism, grit, and determination, fight off two enemies at the same time. The enemy searching for 44 Bravo and contingencies, which anyone who has done these types of missions knows we run into every single time. The force fought off both of those enemies incredibly well. During the period of darkness on Saturday, and as the Secretary said, into Easter Sunday and into the daylight, the force fought its way in and rescued Dude 44 Bravo. They were protected overhead by an air armada, including tactical drones, strike aircraft, and others. The force fought through multiple simultaneous contingencies, something no other nation, no other military can do.
That's right, baby.
And safely returned Dude 44 Bravo, the backseater, home. And all other Americans home as well.
Good.
At midnight 12 local Eastern time, Easter Sunday, more than 50 hours after the start of this operation, the Joint Personnel Recovery Center declared Dude 44 Bravo, both the front and back seater, returned to friendly territory.
Woo!
The courage demonstrated by both the pilot and the weapons system officer while isolated and them invading the enemy cannot be overstated. Their grit and warfighting tenacity is a direct result of the absolute trust they have in our rescue forces, their training, and their will to survive and return. They always knew that we would be ordered to go get them, and they always knew that we would be coming to get them.
Yes, sir.
These two operations reflect our nation's most sacred obligation to our military service members. We leave no one behind, bless you. It also perfectly captures the first truth of our special operations forces, that people are more important than hardware.
Yes, sir.
That is the standard we live by, and the rescue forces that execute these missions operate under a clear motto.
Beautifully put.
These
I must
things
say.
we do that others may live. Their actions were a direct embodiment of that commitment to others, and I could not be more proud of each and every one of them today. As the Secretary said to our enemies, this operation serves as a clear reminder of the capability and will of America's joint force. The United States of America will recover our warfighters anywhere in the world, under any conditions, when we want to. We will always bring overwhelming skill and firepower. To every member of the joint force, our interagency partners, the leadership at CENTCOM, and our leaders at the department and above, thank you. I'm proud of each and every one of you and thankful to our deployed forces and their families.
Is he going to take any questions?
Lastly, and most importantly,
I doubt
to
it.
Dude 44, welcome home. Job
Yes,
well done.
sir.
Thank you.
Welcome home indeed. I am
And that
so
was the
glad.
latest update that we had from General Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He made those remarks at a press briefing just yesterday on some of the developments in U.S. operations in Iran and the Middle East. On your screen, we still continue to have live looks coming out of Budapest in Hungary as we are still waiting for U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance to make some joint remarks with the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban. Now there is some movement here on the screen. It's possible they'll be coming out.
Yeah, until they do, I'm over here. So, I found this little article right here. Just came out. Stocks nervy. Oil above $110 as Trump's Iran deadline nears. Wasn't the deadline tonight at 8 p.m.? Or was it yesterday at 8 p.m.? I've been all over the place. I'm having trouble keeping track. Yeah, so global stocks wavered on Tuesday. I don't know if you can even see that, so I'm reading it. While oil prices edged above $110 per barrel. You know what? I might not read this just yet. Looks like there's people coming in the room over here. I'm not really sure how relevant this this little press conference we're about to have, or this meeting of J.D. Vance and the Prime Minister of Hungary. Yeah, I'm not sure of the relevance. I'm sure there's some, but I just don't know. I haven't followed this story. So anyway, Bitcoin is trying to creep its way up a little bit in the light of no information. And then, of course, man, I don't think it can be overstated how excellent of a buy right now crude is, relatively speaking. I mean, it would be better if it was cheaper, but I don't know that we're going to see that anytime soon. In fact, I do believe we're about to go up. So, just to make sure, I am looking to see Trump's Iran deadline. I thought it was yesterday at 8 p.m. Oh, he gave them 48 hours from when he made that post on Easter, right? Isn't that what I'm missing? Okay. Well, that being said, everybody is probably going to cover Vance and him. So until then,
or even any civil litigation. But the person who actually did the leaking obviously committed a crime. That's the person the president wants. So what I think he was talking about yesterday was the DOJ would subpoena the reporter, not the leaker, the reporter to a grand jury, and ask the reporter in front of a grand jury, who told you this information? And if the reporter refuses to answer there, then the DOJ would go to the federal judge supervising the grand jury saying, would you put this person in jail, this reporter in jail, until they tell us who the leaker was? This famously happened to Judith Miller at the New York Times.
Yep.
Turned out to be a disaster because it turned out that the government already knew who had leaked to Judith Miller. In this case, I don't think the government knows. This is not a game.
No, but to be fair, when it comes to law, it's common practice. You never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. Because if you're unaware of the answer, you might not like the answer, and then it's out there for everybody, and you can't get behind it and, control the fallout from it.
Federal law. What's not protected is who told you this. What is protected is whatever communication he had with whoever told him this.
Very interesting. You know what, Judge? I want to touch on a legal principle in terms of ordinary, reasonable, prudent person. So I'm going to ask you temporarily to put your common sense to the side and actually analyze this.
Put your common sense to the side.
Transparency versus journalistic responsibility. And when you know that publishing the information could put not only service members' lives in jeopardy, but also jeopardize our national security.
It's a privilege to be here with you today.
There we go.
To share what we can about this exceptional mission and to recognize the ingenuity and bravery of those who executed it, as well as the leadership and resolve of the president who ordered it.
Dude, I'm on with this.
One thing that has been clear to me in this role is that the flawless military operations that the Department of War is known for are hostage to flawless intelligence. We saw that in the skies over Iran in Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. We witnessed it in Venezuela during Operation Absolute Resolve. We've seen it against the cartels in the Western Hemisphere, and we're seeing it every day in Operation Epic Fury, including this mission to rescue an aviator buried deep behind enemy lines. Because it is the unique tradition of the U.S. Armed Forces that we leave no man or woman behind, this was a no-fail mission.
Good.
That was the spirit in which the president put us to work, and we were determined not to let him down or our airmen down. As an agency, the CIA possesses unique capabilities that only the president can deploy. Some of these capabilities fall under covert action authorities. And because covert means exactly that, I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that you want to know. At the president's direction, we deployed both human assets and exquisite technologies that no other intelligence service in the world possesses to a daunting challenge comparable to hunting for a single grain of sand in the middle of a desert. This was also a race against the clock, as it was critical that we locate the downed aviator as quickly as possible, while at the same time keeping our enemies misdirected.
Yep, and they did a fabulous job with that,
in
too.
In addition to the human and technical assets deployed by the president to find our airmen, CIA executed a deception campaign.
Yep.
To confuse the Iranians who were desperately hunting for our airmen.
Stomped them.
On Saturday morning, we achieved our primary objective by finding and providing confirmation that one of America's best and bravest was alive and concealed in a mountain crevice, still invisible to the enemy, but not to the CIA. That
That's
confirmation was relayed by Secretary Hegseth to the president, and the operation quickly moved to the execution phase. Following the successful exfiltration on Saturday night, our intelligence reflects that the Iranians were embarrassed and ultimately humiliated by the success of this audacious rescue mission. When the president asked me to lead the CIA, he made it clear, get back to basics, no politics, no agendas. Tackle the hardest problems and execute the toughest missions. This president is about results. And now, that's what his CIA is about too.
Good.
The professionals at the agency and at the Department of War deserve immense credit for their flawless execution during this daring mission. Their skill.
They also deserve immense credit for not sending them a pallet of cash.
Battlefield wherever they step. But none of that matters. And all of that is wasted without a president with the political courage to put them into action. Mr. President, I've had the privilege of seeing you act with political courage in the best interest of the United States up close on a daily basis, and I'm grateful that this successful mission has given the American people a window into that as well. Yep. The Secretary and Chairman will tell you that our service members' confidence is boosted by a Commander-in-Chief who has their back the same way they have yours. And I know that the confidence of CIA's officers is boosted by the knowledge that their work is informing a president who's not afraid to make the hardest decisions when the stakes are highest. And to the American people, your confidence should be boosted by knowing that the security of the nation is in the hands of a president who's willing to take on problems that have confounded both sides of the political aisle for nearly half a century.
Nobody wants to give Trump credit.
It is an honor to serve under a leader who just proved that you can believe him when he says, no matter what, we will leave no one behind. We will come for you. Thank you.
You know, I don't care what your politics are. If you are for Iran in any way, too many people are letting their hatred for Trump cloud their vision on this. Too many people. It's the majority of the left. Now, I'll say again, I'm not pro-war by any stretch of the imagination. However, if anybody deserves it, it's King Iran. The Islamic Republic. What a joke. What a joke. Death to the Islamic Republic of Iran all day. Liberation to the women and children who have been oppressed for the last 47 years because of ridiculous ideologies. And if you're unclear on who the aggressor is, I know it's easy to see America and Israel as the aggressor in this campaign. But, you know, you really should pay attention to the historical side of things here, okay? Is America innocent in all this? No, hell no. But we have to focus on the here and now. And what's going on right now, whether it's because of things America did or not, it doesn't matter. What matters now are the people. And they desperately need and ask for liberation from America. And America is in the unique position of being able to do something about it. And I feel like we almost have an obligation to do so. When you have the ability to help somebody and you don't, that's called complacency. Let's see what these guys are saying.
In advance, Prime Minister Orban there, ready to make those remarks.
I'm very curious to see how this.
Vice President of the United States of America at this press conference on the occasion of his visit to Hungary. I'd like to welcome Prime Minister Viktor Orban, Hungarian and American delegation members. I'd like to ask Prime Minister Viktor Orban to deliver his statement. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you'll allow me, I'm going to speak in my mother tongue, Hungarian. I'd like to respectfully and cordially welcome Vice President Vance in Hungary. The last time a vice president from the U.S. visited Hungary was 35 years ago, and we haven't had such a high-ranked American dignitary in Hungary for 20 years. And 20 years, that's quite a long period of time.
Yes, it is.
With the election of President Trump, I believe a golden era has been ushered in our relations. We have enumerated the year of records was 2025 in terms of economic cooperation. 26 also is increasing impetus. We have increased our turnover with 50%, and we had 30 American companies announce FDI to the tune of 100 billion Hungarian forints. We've also strengthened our cooperation, expanded it with space technology and defense. We owe gratitude to President Trump and Vice President Vance for standing by Hungary during the past years. The United States of America is the strongest country in the world, and I am happy to say that they are our allies today. The peace and the security of Hungary, therefore, is guaranteed. Ladies and gentlemen, we also discussed the fact that Europe is
a joke
heading towards one of the worst energy crises of all times. We are seeing drastic price hikes, and if we do not take measures on time, we are going to see a shortage of energy, oil, and gas. And in this situation, it is especially important that we have the energy cooperation between the US and Hungary, without which we would not be able to guarantee the energy needs of Hungary, and we could not cap our utility prices. We have talked about the United States' efforts to achieve peace. Hungary has always supported the US and President Trump personally in this peace effort. We've been living in the shadows of a war for 4 years now, and we are convinced that if President Trump were the president in 2022, there would not be a war now. It would not have started. And if the Europeans, especially Brussels, would not be blocking the peace efforts of the president, peace
so
would prevail,
far he's just
would have
repeating
been,
existing
reinstated
talking
in Ukraine
points.
for a long time already. I've also explained to the vice president that Hungary is experiencing a very, very, very harsh and very open interference by foreign security services into our elections. This is why we especially welcome the decisions of the President of the United States of America, with which he has closed the financial taps that supported interference into the elections of other countries. I've been waiting for a long, long time for this meeting, and I'm very grateful that we met today. I am grateful that we were able to discuss with the Vice President the pressing issues, the great issues of Western civilization. I am not sharing any secret when I say that there is a continuous discussion between us, an exchange of experiences related to government work, especially in 4 areas. 1, migration. Number 2, gender ideology. Number 3, family policy. And number 4, global security. Because in these fields, Hungary has amassed substantial experiences and quite an extended network of contacts in Eastern Europe and the Balkans. And as a result of our discussions today, we have agreed that it is in the interest of both parties to continue this cooperation, and that the strategic cooperation between the 2 countries is going to be continuous and will be continued. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence, for coming to Hungary.
Miniszterelnök úr, köszönöm szépen.
Prime Minister, thank you very much. And now I ask J.D. Vance to deliver his statement.
Well, thank you, Prime Minister, first of all, and thanks to the people of Hungary for welcoming me. This is a beautiful city, a city that I've been to once before on a personal trip, probably 5 or 6 years ago. And I remember the first time that I came to this beautiful country, my wife was about 20 weeks pregnant with our second child. And now we've come back to Budapest, and my wife is 20 weeks pregnant with our 4th child. So there's an interesting way in which our trips to Hungary have rhymed. I also want to thank the President of the United States, who, of course, is a dear friend of Prime Minister Orban and a very strident supporter of Prime Minister Orban, because together, the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Hungary have been able to do amazing things. And we're here because we want to celebrate those amazing things. We want to build upon those amazing things. And, of course, I want to help as much as I possibly can the Prime Minister as he faces this election season, which I believe is happening in just about a week, the election to elect the next Prime Minister of Hungary. Now, I don't expect, of course, the people of Hungary to listen to the Vice President of the United States. That's not primarily why I'm here. But I did want to send a signal to everybody, particularly the bureaucrats in Brussels who have done everything that they can to hold down the people of Hungary, because they don't like the leader who has actually stood up for the people of Hungary. And I think it's important to say that.
There are so many things that we could point to. There are so many economic pieces of cooperation, so much investment that's come into Hungary. Viktor Orban has been the single found leader in Europe on the question of energy security and independence. It is funny to watch prime ministers and leaders in some of the Western European capitals talk about the energy crisis when, frankly, they should have been following the policies of Viktor Orban in Hungary. And if they had, the energy crisis that they're experiencing would be a lot less bad, because what's going on in Hungary right now is that while, yes, energy prices are elevated, they're far less elevated here than they are almost.
Drop a like.
That leadership can provide a model to the continent. We want Europe to be successful. We want European families to be able to afford to heat their homes and to build great things. We want Europe to be energy independent and even energy dominant, but it's not going to be energy secure if it continues to follow the failed policies of the past. And so I think Viktor has been a great example in charting a course that could lead to a better, more prosperous, and more energy secure Europe. There's a lot of other cooperation in technology and artificial intelligence and manufacturing. There are so many ways in which the United States and Hungary have been great economic partners, and that partnership has really accelerated over the past couple of years under President Trump's leadership. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here primarily, Victor, because of the economic cooperation between our countries. I'm here because of the moral cooperation between our two countries, because what the United States and Hungary together represent under Victor's leadership and under President Trump's leadership is the defense of Western civilization. The defense of the idea that children should be able to go to school and get educated and not indoctrinated. The defense of the idea that European and American families should be able to transport themselves and be able to afford to heat and cool their homes. The defense of the idea that we are founded on a certain Christian civilization and Christian values that animate everything from freedom of speech to rule of law to respect for minority rights and protection of the vulnerable. There is so much that
you have to stop it at all costs. And since the United States, prior to President Trump, was in favor of this war, for us, the current position of the United States is indeed very valuable, because it is fundamentally pro-peace. So if a Hungarian and a US politician meet, they cannot avoid talking about the Russian-Ukrainian war. Moreover, this war is being waged in the neighborhood of Hungary.
Look at
Hungarians
oil.
also die in this war.
Look at oil.
Since in the current territory of Ukraine, multiple Hungarians live who are drafted, occasionally with brutal coercive measures.
Yeah, there isn't too very much of importance that I'm gleaning from this Hungary talk. It's good that they're talking, and it's good that their message is good and all that. But I want to come back to reality here and take a look at oil. Oil is starting to run now, and I do believe this might be the beginning of what is to come. Okay? Right now, you've got a hell of an opportunity with oil futures. That I don't think can be overstated. Trump's deadline is tonight at 8 p.m. for Iran to pretty much give it up, and they're not going to. So depending on, you can bank on that. They will not surrender. They will not agree to anything. Guarantee you. See, what they want's another pallet of cash. And Trump ain't giving it to them. You can keep on dreaming about that BS. That ain't happening. But I do believe, guys, look at this. The best opportunity you're going to find right now is in oil futures. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. God, I wish I had something to throw at it. Shit! Damn it. If all I had was $120 to my name, I would throw it at that right now. You're damn right I would. I hope somebody out there can make some money on it today. This is a good one. Not financial advice. I just have to say that. But I'm here to tell you that is a good buy. Seems like everybody's running this this Hungary thing. So maybe I'm a moron and am missing the point of this. So let's go back to it.
Collapse, or is it sit down and get serious about a peaceful resolution? The reason the president
Okay, if one of these jerks would get their shit straight.
on Russia and Ukraine than most countries anywhere else in the world, the president.
A little dip in the market, so I bought $2 million worth of crypto.
Is designed to strengthen ties between the U.S. and Hungary.
What? Why did everybody cut? I think everybody cut out because there's some technical difficulties going on. Like I said, that wasn't on my side. That was on theirs.
Intended, if you don't have Kraken, get Kraken. Now's the time.
We're going to go over to Bloomberg because it looks like they're...
to give a sense of how many people are in the PHEMEX camp of potentially putting a symmetric risk on the table of potentially a rate hike as well as a rate cut as being the next move. Jobless claims and core PCE as well as income and spending on Thursday and CPI data coming on Friday. How important is inflation data at a time, Daniel, we're considering the idea of stagflation. We're considering the idea of prolonged oil prices being higher, while at the same time a consumer is strong enough to absorb it.
It's something Kelsey Barrow of JP Morgan said to us, that perhaps some of the complacency, if you will, in markets exists because it hasn't showed up in the data yet. We started to get that in yesterday's ISMs, sort of stagflationary feel to it. What happens as we continue to get more data? What happens if we get CPI that does show the biggest increase in inflation since 2022? Maybe then markets wake up, but again, there has been a real resistance to price anything like that in.
Right now, you're seeing a bit of a risk-off feel as we do get news of some explosions heard on Clark Island, reporting that the U.S. struck military assets on the region, not some of the shipping docks or other more civilian.
Dude, Clark Island's the hot spot now.
About 0.5%, 0.7% decline on the NASDAQ and Russell 2000. The bond space tracking oil yields higher in tandem with oil prices higher pretty much across the board.
That's probably why it's running.
Still, a reversal from what we saw earlier this morning. 30-year yields 4.91%, creeping higher by 2 basis points. That question of do we hit that 5% mark? And in the crude space, both Brent and WTI, the June contracts trading up more than 1%, both of them 111 on Brent. We could see $100 even for WTI's June contract. Coming up this hour, Katrina Dudley of Franklin Templeton. As political uncertainty whipsaws markets, Daryl Cronk of Wells Fargo upgrading their outlook on the tech sector. And New York Fed President John Williams with inflation.
I am so upset that I can't throw money. This is such a no-brainer. Damn it, that's easy money, man. Shit! I'm going to go have a smoke because I'm pissed off that I can't buy any oil futures. Shit!
Through energy markets, which feeds directly into inflation expectations, rates, and overall market sentiment. Katrina joins us now. Katrina, great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thanks for having me.
So how do you frame this in terms of whether any of this is tradable or whether you just sort of sit and watch and sort of stick with how you're allocated?
So if you take a look, people are talking sticking with how you're allocated as being complacent. So you're actually kind of, really needing to fight that narrative that I am, not paying attention to what's happening. But if we look at the market and what is driving the market, it is AI sentiment, and that is really key. And we think that what's happening, the geopolitical concerns are real, but they're not undermining the core thesis that we went into this year with, which is continued tech AI spending, a consumer resiliency that is still there, a little bit more, less certain, but I think it's still there on the resiliency of that consumer. The geopolitical tensions have really undermined things, but oil, if you look at the entire energy sector, it's just such a small part of our market today.
At the same time, people looking past some of the consumer-facing industries and pointing to big tech. You talked about how the AI trade was something that really did have legs, and we were talking to Kate Moore about how that would be the last thing. The CapEx spending would be the last thing cut, considering this is an existential race. Goldman Sachs coming out, Peter Oppenheimer saying this is the time to buy the dip in big tech. Do you feel similarly?
I think that big tech is now a safe haven. I think that big tech is not as cyclical as we've seen it in the past. You're talking about it as being the last thing to cut. And that's the type of language that we use for things that are considered staples and stable items. So I think that AI and big tech, when you talk about that AI arms race, I completely agree with what Kate said, that the fact is, we are going to continue to invest in AI. We are starting to see returns from those use cases as well. And I think that is the offset that the market is really ignoring at this stage, which is the idea that we've done all this spending, we've taken all those expenses, but now we're starting to see on use cases in our back office, for example, we're starting to see those cost takeouts. And so it's not now just always like, cash going into the AI spending bucket. We're starting to see the returns.
Even so, the Mag 7 big caps tech stocks, they certainly haven't been a monolith. They've been trading differently. It's remarkable that Apple has been one of the best performers when it feels like that was left for dead, that they'd missed out on the AI story. And then you look at something like a Walmart that is set to grow more slowly than all of the Mag 7, but it is priced at a massive premium to the group. How much of this market also just wants to see cash flow? That it's not enough, again, in years past that they were spending on AI and advancing, but balance sheets need to be robust.
I don't think in this stage of the investment that you need to have like a kind of pristine balance sheet. You're investing, and you're investing for growth, and that means that you are taking risks. You're taking risks in the sense that that capital may not be worth anything, but you need to do it, because if you don't, you're going to be left so far behind. When we talk about all of these AI providers, we were talking before the break, it is a little bit like a horse race where one gets ahead, one falls a bit back behind. But I do think that ultimately they're all investing. They've all got good products. We are continuing to invest and to make sure that our teams are staying ahead and have access to the best tools and the best information. And I think that that's what a lot of people are focused on. And what is being seen as complacency is actually no, it's just the fact that I have now had multiples come down in the tech sector. The Mag 7, though, is continuing to grow. 2027 earnings growth will be still above the rate of the earnings growth of the S&P. And I think that the valuations is coming down as a result of the stocks coming down is really starting to say to investors, maybe I just step in here, because that valuation negative narrative that we've been talking about throughout the most early part of this year is really kind of started to lose some of its shine.
Does this mean we've also put to bed the broadening out trade? Because it feels like we're back in this environment where we're not so sure about the consumer, other things are going on, what's happening with rates, but tech will reign supreme regardless of the environment. Does market leadership from here start to narrow again?
I think when we talk about the breadth of the market, we're talking about the Mag 7 and we're talking about the 493 other stocks. And even the Mag 7 is not just technology spending, it's not just purely tech stocks. And I think you do have consumer in there. You have Amazon, for example, which still is a big consumer play. You have names like Meta, advertising, still a consumer play. So I don't think necessarily it's just tech or not. The broadening trade has worked this year, and I do think it's going to continue to work. I think that part of what is working has been energy. That has been the surprise, but it's been driven by something that was also a surprise, which is the geopolitical tensions. But I do think that generally speaking, the rest of the market is still where you're going to continue to find opportunities. But we do think that there are select areas on the tech space where those valuations have come in, and we are not concerned about tech spending being cut.
Katrina Dudley, thank you so much for being with us. Wonderful to see you. Katrina Dudley of Franklin Templeton, thank you. I did want to bring this to you. We did get another post on Truth Social by President Trump saying this: a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionarily wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran. Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall joins us now for more. Tyler, how do you put this into perspective with some of the other posts that we've heard from the president of late?
Well, Lisa, at this point, it appears President Trump is not going to back down or delay his threat to hit Iranian civilian infrastructure by 8 p.m. Eastern tonight, posting here on Truth Social, saying that I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. But he also, of course, added, who knows? Of course, the president has before delayed and deferred his previous threats. And just yesterday, he did say that he felt that Iran was negotiating in good faith, even citing that he thought that Iranian officials were hampered in their communication with the U.S. over security concerns, and that's why he previously delayed this deadline before. Still, we have to pair that with reports this morning that Israel has already hit Iranian infrastructure, dozens of sites, according to reporting, as well as Axios reporting that there have been military targets hit on Karg Island. Pair that with Fox News reporting that this includes bunkers, radar station, and ammunition storage, but that loading docks were indeed spared, that we haven't seen the U.S. move into that point quite yet. So it's going to be something to watch and develop because, Lisa, as you well know, President Trump said that today it depends on what Iran does, whether or not the U.S. is going to wind down, or escalate its operations later tonight.
Tyler, do you have any sense of what the deliberative body is behind any decision that the United States makes? Who's involved? Exactly how much disagreement or agreement there is in these deliberations that are ongoing?
Well, at least publicly, Lisa, we've seen a united front from the administration, right? We are expecting some updates later today from Secretary Pete Hegseth, also the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane. We know Secretary Marco Rubio has also been closely involved in all of these discussions. There has been reporting that President Trump has pushed for a perhaps more aggressive stance when it comes to this, considering that we know some of his previous comments going back decades when it comes to his feelings on taking Karg Island as just one example. At this point, though, the administration has put out their negotiating team yesterday. President Trump confirming that includes Vice President J.D. Vance, along with, of course, his special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and also Jared Kushner, many of whom these officials were in the room with him yesterday in the briefing room. Of course, also the CIA director as well. So there seems to be a lot of different angles here. But even, Lisa, yesterday, I'll point out during those remarks to reporters, President Trump himself said that sometimes there has been disagreement with the strategy when it comes to Iran among top military officials. But as of now, they are showing, of course, that united front.
Tyler Kendall, thank you so much for that work and for coming on so quickly. Really, honestly, Danny, looking at this, how does anyone take this type of post? A question of, yes, this is amping up the rhetoric, but saying a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will.
But then at the same time saying that we have complete and total regime shift, where you have smarter, different, and less radicalized minds, and pointing to optimism that maybe there will be a deal. It's something that General Robert Walsh of Academy Securities pointed to, of a carrot and stick approach from the president, that maybe there's a method behind the mixed messaging, that you claim there's a good chance of a deal, and that's deliberate to allow for a last-minute deal, that you have to have that present in there while leaving the extreme of the threats. Again, though, the issue for markets is this kind of takes off the table, or seemingly at least takes off the table, any kind of walk back.
Yeah, in the markets, what do people do with this? Unclear. You are seeing a little bit of a leg lower in equity futures on the heels of this. Up next, the morning calls, plus Daryl Cronk of Wells Fargo as President Trump's threats weigh on markets. That's coming up next. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Middle East, and Africa. Vibrant resources and high-yield investment opportunities abound. Join me on Horizons Middle East and Africa for the stories, newsmakers, and insight from this exciting region. Now weekdays, only on Bloomberg.
Know how the market day started.
Find out how it finishes.
Public markets to private markets.
From the micro to the macro.
Covering retail, entertainment, the business of sports.
The supply chains, trade policy, how it all is impacting the U.S. equity market as we drive to the closing bell at 4 p.m.
A holistic approach to covering financial markets.
If it matters to your life, we're covering it. I'm Katie Greifeld.
And I'm Romaine Bostic, and this is The Close.
Live every weekday.
Only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Key investors, top executives, global innovators. Join me for in-depth conversations with the biggest newsmakers on the day's top stories. Insight with Haslinda Amin, only on Bloomberg. It is deadline day. There's a question of what happens after 8 p.m. Eastern. A drumbeat of headlines have been taking this market lower throughout the morning. Explosions that were reported on Kharg Island, then reportedly the U.S. hitting a number of military-tied assets on Kharg Island. Now President Trump coming out with a post saying a whole civilization will die tonight. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. As these sort of drumbeat of headlines comes out, a sense of unease falls over the markets, and you do see that reflected in a risk-off feel. You're seeing stocks lower by 0.6% on the S&P futures. You're seeing a greater decline across the board with Russell and NASDAQ down about 0.8% in the bond space. Yields slightly higher on the back of an increase in oil prices, particularly at the long end of the yield curve, which is interesting, given the expectation that the Fed could potentially move to a more hawkish position in the oil futures space. The June contract for both Brent and WTI both inflecting up more than 1%. Seeing now WTI, that June contract, at near $100 a barrel. We are going to get back to that post that we got from President Trump and what the ramifications of that 8 p.m. deadline are later today. Time now, though, for the morning calls. First up, Piper Sandler lowering its price target in Apollo to $146, noting a difficult start to 2026 with macro headwinds. Those shares lower by more than 1%. Next up, Seaport Research double downgrading Lennar to sell from buy, seeing rising concern of further slowing in housing activity on the heels of higher mortgage rates, slowing down further an already rather sluggish industry. And finally, Morgan Stanley downgrading ARM Holdings to equal weight, noting plans to sell its own chips could pose risks. Those shares lower by more than 4%. Turning back to our top story, stocks falling and oil rising following an ominous threat from President Donald Trump on Truth Social. The president writing a whole civilization will die tonight. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. Daryl Kronk of Wells Fargo joins us now. Daryl, typically markets try to strip out emotion. They try to look at what the facts are on the ground. How do you handle headlines that increasingly have the potential to be potentially history-making,
have the
but
potential
also
to potentially
could be nothing and could be a viable dip? I mean, how do you sort of assess this type of risk?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, Lisa. It is the question of the day, so good morning. I think what you want to look for in this kind of environment is what we call high convexity trades. And what do I mean by that? I mean trades that, probably have some minimal downside to them, but could have big upside if the circumstances and the conditions flip. That's part of the reason we just did a pairs trade of downgrading energy and upgrading technology, because we see the asymmetry there of the risk reward being very, very favorable in today's world.
At the same time, Daryl, how do you understand what's a haven at a time when potentially we could be looking at something that's either a massive inflationary shock or potentially a massive hit to growth, as not just a question of prices kill some of the activity that people are opting to go on, but actual shortages percolate into some of the fastest growing areas in the world?
Well, yes, sir.
Yeah, Lisa, it's a great point. I mean, I think what you end up with is you have the real supply-demand shortage that's probably going to persist for quite some time. That's well documented and well said around oil. But if I look at something like what I was just referencing, I've got energy equities up 33%, tech down 7%, a differential of 40. well documented that tech now trades at the S&P forward 12-month price earnings multiple. So I'm paying no premium for double the earnings growth, right? The consensus 12 months forward on the S&P is 18% earnings growth. Tech is supposed to grow 35%. And history tells you, if you go back and look at these past oil shocks, you want to sell energy equities in advance of an oil price peak. I can't tell you exactly where the oil price peak is, but at $114 on WTI today, we'll take that risk reward that you can deploy capital and sell into that environment. History tells you when oil becomes the story is when you generally want to move away from energy equities.
It feels contrarian at this moment, Daryl, with everyone upgrading their earnings outlooks for energy and everyone saying this is the place you can hide out. So it's interesting to hear that. And does it also mean that so much has been made of the halo trade, the hard assets, low obsolescence? Have we gone a little too far down that path then? Is that overblown the attractiveness of away from digital assets and into the hard assets?
Yeah.
I think so. Again, go back to the high convexity. So when we look at areas where the downside is probably somewhat muted, but the upside could be real if that positioning, to your point, changes. Danny, it's places like I just mentioned. Energy versus tech. Gold, I think, is another high convexity trade here, right? Probably minimal downside from 46.80, but to us, we have a 12-month gold target price at 5,900. That's 25% from today's level. I would put financials in that category too. Financial equities are down 9%. If you look at some of the alts managers, down 30 to 50%. A lot of the bad news is priced in there. If things do change, even on the intermediate basis, and move higher, you've got some big upside there probably. And you could put digital assets in there as well. Digital assets have come down meaningfully, call it 50% in value. I don't think the downside is materially more there, Danny. And so, if the world does change and conditions change and positioning is skewed one way, people have to reorient that positioning, either covering short positions or getting back long areas so that convexity can really work in your favor in portfolios when you use it wisely.
Daryl Kroc of Wells Fargo, thank you so much for being with us as we try to parse
Thank
through
you so much for being with us.
Noise, what is signal? We're getting a series of headlines. Not only President Trump's Truth Social post talking about the potential carnage that could occur tonight after 8 p.m., but J.D. Vance speaking in Budapest as he delivers a speech there saying that the U.S. is confident it will get an Iranian response.
Yeah. Listen, okay? If you're unclear about what to trade right now, I swear to God, even though the chart we're looking at right now is coming down, I still believe this is going to be an excellent play. Because look, man, Iran is not going to agree to shit. They're just not. If you know anything about their lunacy in the world, they're on a mission from God, okay? Their prophecy has spoken to them and told them, even if they lose, that they're still fighting for a good cause. They're not going to give in. They're not going to do a damn thing we tell them to do. They're just not. So providing Trump follows through and does in fact blow them back to the Stone Age, oil. I'm telling you, man, oil futures, they're going to go crazy. Now, if you're unsure on how to trade futures, by all means, shoot me a message in the chat. And if you want to talk one-on-one, we can talk one-on-one. I have no problem helping somebody out if they want to know how to do it and what to look for and all that. I have no problem whatsoever. I have nothing but time. I am currently staying with a friend of mine that I'm probably going to get the boot because I've been here longer than I initially asked to stay here. I lost my ass on Bitcoin and back in January, like literally lost my house, and I'm technically homeless. So I've got nothing but time. I don't mind helping if you want me to help you walk through. If you want me to help you walk through how to place a trade when it comes to derivatives and trading futures of any kind. Doesn't have to be oil either, whatever. That being said, food for thought. If you're curious, drop me a chat and we'll talk. Like I said, we can talk outside of the chat if you prefer. But yeah, I want to go back to listen to what these people are saying because things are about to get real, man. Shit's about to hit the fan tonight after 8 p.m. I might come on and do a live stream around 8 just to see what the immediate reaction is.
Is Bloomberg surveillance.
Let's go back over here to somebody who's talking.
Iran in complete darkness, bring them to their knees, so to speak, and then move forward with regime change and to rebuild Iran.
Yeah, everybody's
their
just
oil,
waiting.
not taxpayer dollars.
Like, there's literally nothing really major going on in the news. We might get some kind of surprise, because if everyone's expecting this big move to be made right at 8 p.m., I think it's safe for us to assume that they are not coming to the table. And that being said, I would not be surprised if we had some sort of attack today.
By us and everybody else, and he said very clearly, we're not going to strike energy and infrastructure targets until the Iranians either make a proposal that we can get behind or don't make a proposal, but he's given them until Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So I don't think the news in Karg Island it represents a change in strategy or represents any change from the President of the United States. He continues to say the deadline is 8 o'clock, and the deadline is for what? Fundamentally, what Iran is trying to do, because they've been defeated militarily, is they're trying to extract as much economic pain on the world as possible. And the President of the United States is a man who recognizes leverage, that if the Iranians want to exact a certain amount of pain, the United States has the ability to exact much, much greater pain.
You're damn right.
Once again, Vice President Vance there just moments ago as he was answering a reporter question focused on this news that we are sharing with you. As we're learning from Fox News, the U.S. bombs dozens of Iranian military targets on Karg Island overnight.
Good.
Including bunkers, radar station, ammunition storage. This, once again, all according to Fox News. Now,
And they said we didn't have the balls to do it. Oh, don't attack our Karg Island. You'll unleash hell. Uh-huh. These guys are all bluster, man.
But I can tell you that we have a active, willing participant on the other side. They would like to be able to make a deal. I can't say any more than that.
Your messaging on the war has moved from the war is coming to an end to war going to be bombing Iran to the Stone Ages. And we've heard a range of those kind of messages. So which is it? Are you winding this down?
Can't tell you.
Are you
I can't tell you.
I don't know. I can't tell you. Depends what they do.
Why would he tell these people?
They have a period of, till tomorrow at 8 o'clock. I gave them an extension. They asked
gave
for
them
an
all the time
extension
in
of
the world.
7 days, right? I said, Steve, give them 10 days. 10 days is up actually today, so I gave them 11, I guess, indirectly. I thought it was inappropriate the day after Easter. I want to be a nice person. They have till tomorrow.
I'm going to be a nice
We'll
person.
see what happens.
I'll wait a day to
I can
kill
tell
you.
They're negotiating, we think, in good faith.
Shit.
We're going to find out. We're getting the help of some incredible countries that want this to be ended because it affects them also. A lot of people are affected by this. But we're giving them till tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern time.
I think he's being too nice.
They're going to have no bridges. They're going to have no power plants. Stone Ages, yeah. Stone Ages.
Stone Ages, yeah.
And they're at the weakest point they've ever been.
Yep.
They have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft weaponry, they have no radar, they have no communication. In fact, the biggest problem we have in our negotiation is that they can't communicate. I said to Steve, what are they saying? Sir, they can't communicate. They have no method of communication. So we're communicating like they used to communicate 2,000 years ago with children, bringing a note back and forth. They have no...
Between Iran
I can't talk about...
Yeah. I just love this narrative of, Trump doesn't have a plan. Okay. You don't have a brain. With the way the news works, I would 100% do the exact same thing. I wouldn't tell them a damn thing.
The countdown clock counting down. We are now at 11 hours, 24 minutes.
Yeah,
and
I'll
45 seconds.
definitely be live tonight. I'm going to go live about 8 o'clock, possibly. maybe a little before 8, actually, just because I want to see what the immediate action is. Okay, they're on commercial. All right, guys. Well, we are approximately 1 hour before the opening bell. And I'm assuming the whole day is pretty much going to be about how it's been.
Are founded on Christian civilization, Christian values. Can you talk more about some of the ideas that the United States and Hungary share right now with this political perspective?
Yeah, and look, Prime Minister Orbán spoke about this as well, the sort of the idea now that Washington and Budapest are kind of in lockstep with one another, defending Western civilization values. I mean, he spoke about 4 main areas where he said there's been a lot of work discussed. One is on illegal migration, the other is on gender ideology, family policy, and global security. And he did also speak about the foundations of both countries.
Like, don't we have better things to worry about?
Circled it back, which I found interesting, to the war in Ukraine. And that might sound strange, but he made a point of the fact that Russia...
Like, don't we have better things to worry about than what the hell is in your pants? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's never, ever been important enough to take up as much time as it has. You know, you can be for it or against it, I don't care, but it's stupid. This is why the rest of the world is laughing at America. Because of stupid shit like this. Gender nonsense. Go your ass to work, put the fries in the bag, and shut the hell up.
President Trump's deadline continues to tick down towards 8 p.m. Eastern.
Well, Trent, a lot of similarities between the two nations. Thank you so much for that report. Appreciate it. Trent Murray.
Thank you.
Coming up, the Iranian regime rejecting a temporary ceasefire.
We'll head to Dubai next with the latest on the war. That's straight ahead.
Of course they're going to reject it. We all know that that's how this is going to play out. Come on.
Sure. Well, what's happening with core inflation?
Yeah, so there, I think the story hasn't changed very much. Clearly, higher energy prices does add a little bit to core inflation. You think about airfares, which is part of core inflation, but it is influenced by fuel prices. So I expect that to add maybe a tenth or two to core inflation over the year, the energy price component. But we've seen tariff rates come down. We've seen some other, I think, more positive signs on underlying inflation. So overall, I'm kind of where I've been for a while with core inflation around 2.5% this year.
Well, how long, how high, how fast would inflation have to move to merit a rate response?
Well, I think really it does go back to kind of the full kind of set of factors influencing inflation. And I'm going to bring up tariffs because it is a big part of the story so far about why core inflation has been elevated. So I am watching, imported good prices, looking at core inflation expectations, and then obviously on top of that, what's happening to food and energy. So to my mind, monetary policy today is really well positioned, given where all of those dynamics have been playing out, and well positioned to kind of wait and see on some of the effects of what's happening today. This isn't. I'm not saying we're just in some kind of we can't act. I think this monetary policy is exactly where it needs to be, and then we can respond if the situation changes. Right now, I think that monetary policy though is pretty well positioned, given what we've been seeing so far.
Monetary policy is well positioned, but what about the economy? What's the state of the economy?
Yeah, well, if you asked me this a month or two ago, we would be talking about remarkable resilience of the economy, growing at 2% last year, looking to grow even faster this year. Clearly, with the conflict in the Middle East, that changes that a bit. Consumers, families are going to be paying higher fuel costs, gas price, with the gas price increases. So I've been bringing down my forecast for growth this year, probably somewhere between 2 and 2.5% for growth this year. An unemployment rate probably staying around where it is now, 4.3%. And economy that's continuing to grow, but roughly at trend. Again, driven by consumer spending
MicroStrategy
and investments, especially.
$14.5 billion loss. Yeah, well, they lost 30%.
Last year, we were told basically
of
to
their
prop
share
up the
price
labor
because
market.
of those chips
being
being
smuggled.
smuggled.
Is that accomplished?
Well, it's hard to read all of the tea leaves because it's a pretty complicated situation with the labor market. We are seeing some various kind of different signals. My view is if you look at the unemployment rate, it's today at 4.3%. It's about where it was in July. So we've seen some stability there in terms of the unemployment rate and in job openings and some of the other indicators. So I feel like we've gotten the labor market, we've seen the labor market much more stable now. Definitely not a labor market that's weakening based on the economic indicators. That said, if you look at the surveys, including the survey that we do and the Conference Board survey, that's not how people are, kind of feeling about the labor market. Definitely, we've seen a continued process of people being more pessimistic about the labor market. Not about a recession or something, but just a view that this is a pretty low fire labor market. And maybe the views are not as strong as you would think just looking at the aggregate payroll and unemployment data.
You're well positioned to do whatever you need to do to help the economy, but can monetary policy really do a lot in these situations? What's the lag? Jay Powell was talking about it could be a year from now before it hits the economy, whatever you did.
Yeah, absolutely. So monetary policy, based on all the kind of historical evidence, takes about a year to have its full effect on the economy and even longer on inflation. So we always have to be forward-looking. We have to be thinking about where's the economy going to be rather than where it is today or where it's been in the past. So that means trying to think through where is inflation going to be later this year or next year. Where's the economy going to be? Now, I go back to kind of the analysis we've done. I do expect underlying inflation eventually later this year to start coming back down because the effects of the tariffs on inflation will start to wane. I do expect, a continuation of the kind of good, positive movement in underlying inflation. But we'll have to watch, does that continue? And again, what happens in terms of the conflict and its effects on inflation.
We're worried about the Iran war. We're worried about tariffs. People are worried about AI. And you mentioned the consumer sentiment numbers. But the economy has been fairly resilient. Why?
Well, I think America has the best productivity, highest productivity in the world. It's got the highest, among the highest productivity growth. We are a remarkably resilient, innovative, dynamic economy. And I think new technology is making a big difference, not just AI, but more broadly. We've seen productivity growth that's actually been above par for the past 6 years. So I think there are some fundamentals that are driving solid gains in productivity, in real incomes, and demand for demand to hire people. But there's these various cross currents you mentioned. So again, last year the surprise was the economy was so resilient despite the uncertainty, despite other factors like the tariffs. This year it's another test of that resilience, but investment in AI and data centers I think will continue to be strong this year.
Shit.
And for as long as
Venezuela,
the economy continues
look at
to
that
grow, I think
inflation.
consumer spending will continue to be a very positive factor.
Well,
inflation up 600% in Venezuela.
Read on average hourly earnings or
And
wages or
Iran,
whatever measure you want to use. Average hourly earnings came down to
Iran's
3.5%.
currency.
What's the sweet spot?
Iran's currency has collapsed. It's collapsed. You can thank the good old USA for that. There was never a better definition of FIFO. Get some Iran. That's what happens when you threaten the United States. You get fucked. Sorry, not sorry. I do feel for the Iranian people, but the Iranian government can kiss my ass in hell. Straight up. I can't say it enough. I cannot say death to the Islamic Republic of Iran. I cannot say it enough. And if you support them, then you can go to the same place. Let's see what Pete Hegseth is saying. I wonder if this is from yesterday.
The call never dropped. The meeting never stopped. The planning never ceased. The president demanded rapid, decisive action. He backed our military with the full weight of his resolve, refusing to let enemy propaganda or tactical setbacks deter us. His leadership ensured that every lethal and non-lethal resource was brought to bear, that our forces had the authorities and the support they needed to succeed. When the president says he has the backs of our warfighters, he means it. And it means a great deal, and it's a big difference on the battlefield. President Trump understands that peace through strength is not a slogan. It is a doctrine that saves American lives. His unwavering commitment to rebuilding our military and restoring the warrior spirit has paid dividends in missions just like this one. Under his command, America projects power with confidence and brings our people home with victory. And that continues today, by the way. Per the president's direction, today will be the largest volume of strikes since day one of this operation. Tomorrow, even more than today. And then Iran has a choice. Choose wisely.
Yeah.
Because this president does not play around. You can ask Soleimani, you can ask Maduro, you can ask Khamenei. To those heroes who planned and executed
You gonna
these
die,
rescues, the nation
honky.
stands in awe. I stand in awe. The chairman stands in awe. We all stand in awe of your professionalism and bravery. We serve for you. You embody the very best of America. To the rescued airmen and their families, welcome home. Your courage and endurance, the quiet declaration of faith amid the storm, inspires us all. God is good every day. And to our adversaries watching from Tehran, let this be a clear message. The United States military will go anywhere, at any time, to protect our own and complete the mission.
You're damn
We
right.
execute with precision. We control the skies. You see, we flew for 7 hours in daylight over Iran to get
Yeah,
the
this
first
is from
pilot.
earlier, but
And
still
we
a
flew
good
7
speech.
hours in the middle of the night.
You know,
to
I
get
gotta
the second.
say, old
And
Pete
Iran-
Hegseth, you know, love him or hate him, whatever, say what you want, but he speaks well. I mean, he'd have to. He was on Fox News, right? But I would not be surprised at all to see him make a bit of a presidential run. I don't know that he'd win, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he has a chance in hell of winning, but that's only because of how, you know, how partisan people are. I mean, this, you know, of course, then again, Trump won in the face of all who cried. God's sake, I had a family member of mine that was a bleeding heart liberal, and the things that came out of that woman's mouth were just outrageously ridiculous. She was one of these people that believed that they were going to put all the gay people in camps, and we were in for a Handmaid's Tale type reality for women in America. And you see, I have a gay cousin, and she's married to another woman, and they have an adopted kid. And you know what? They're wonderful people. I have no problem with anything that they want to do. It's none of my business. You know what I mean? As it's nobody else's business either. They're happy. They're good people. That's all that matters, right? Well, my particular family member I'm talking about, she actually said the words to me that when Trump won, this was the week he won the election, she actually said to me that she knew for a fact that they were going to have their doors kicked in, and they were going to take that child, their adopted child, and so they were going to take that adopted child and teach that kid how to blow old white men. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm white. Okay? So, this family member of mine, she's white, and I'm so tired of this hating your own race nonsense. Shut up. Like, how bad can you fall for the propaganda to hate your own race? Like, look, man, nobody's perfect. There's nobody on this planet, no race in particular, on this planet that's perfect. We've all committed atrocities across the globe. The only thing you can do is be a better person. Be a good person. That's all you can do. Now, I realize it was hard for people to accept, Trump's win. But when he did, it was a tough pill to swallow it, but swallow it you will. Yeah, and she almost every day, I post on Facebook, still no gays in camps, still no adopted children being taken and given to old white men. And of course, she won't talk to me anymore. Go figure. Hypocrites. Can't even get your shit straight. Can't even apologize when you're flat out wrong. And it cost me a beloved family member. She is definitely Trump derangement syndrome all day long. I realize that is a joke, okay? And, the debate is whether or not it actually is a real thing. There's something real going on in the scope of that. So whatever it is, she's definitely got it. It's all media induced, though. Every stitch of it is media induced. And people will say, oh, Trump's racist. It's proven. No, it's not. It's not at all. Anyway, I'm going to go have a smoke. I'm pretty sure this is from last night, yeah? I'm going to have a smoke. We are a little over 35 minutes-ish until the opening bell. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord.
Easters, I think, in a lot of different ways. I can say militarily, it's been one of the best. So, good afternoon. We have quite a bit to discuss. We'll go into pretty good detail. And we have the people that are most involved. We'll give you exactitude. And we're here today to celebrate the success of one of the largest, most complex, most harrowing combat searches. I guess you would call it a search and rescue mission ever attempted by the military. Generally, when planes are knocked down in war, especially when you're fighting a strong group, an evil group.
Yeah, I'm going for my smoke.
You can't really do this because you send in 200 men to pick up one, and it's something that's usually not attempted as much as you want to attempt. And bad things happen to that one or two. And in this case, we did two, and it might not have been attempted before, but we did. And we had great talent. We got a little luck, too, I would say. And we were helped by a lot of people, a lot of great people. And it was an honor to be involved with it. It's very historic. This is a rescue that's very historic. It'll go down in the books. Late Thursday night, an American F-15 fighter jet went down deep inside enemy territory in Iran while participating in Operation Epic Fury, where we're doing unbelievably well, well at a level that nobody's ever seen before. The entire country can be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. Both members of the crew ejected from the aircraft and landed alive. On Iranian soil, I immediately was asked to make a decision. I ordered the U.S. Armed Forces to do whatever was necessary to bring our brave warriors back home. A risky decision, because we could have ended up with 100 dead as opposed to 1 or 2. It's a hard decision to make. But in the United States military, we leave no American behind. We don't do it. Within hours, our armed forces deployed 21 military aircraft into hostile airspace, many flying at very low altitude, being shot by bullets. You bring rifles into play when you're going that low, but there are also certain advantages. And in broad daylight over Iran for 7 hours, at times facing very, very heavy enemy fire. We have a helicopter that's got a lot of bullets in it. It's amazing. We just realized how good those weapons are. Those our machines are. Nobody has the equipment that we have, and nobody has the military that we have. Not even close. We're the most powerful military anywhere in the world by far. The flight crews and warfighters aboard those aircraft took extraordinary risks to rescue their fellow service members. This first wave of search and rescue forces successfully located the pilot of the F-15, and he was extracted from enemy territory by an HH-60 Jolly Green II helicopter. Fabulous machine as our warriors faced gunfire at very close range. It's amazing that when you look at the machinery, what happened, that nobody was even injured. Meanwhile, the second crew member, a weapons system officer, highly respected colonel, had landed a significant distance away from the pilot. When you're going at those speeds, even if you go out 2 or 3 seconds later, it's miles and miles away because you're going fast. He was injured quite badly and stranded in an area teeming with terrorists from the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps rough group, as well as besieged militia and local authorities. Many, on top of everything else, they told the communities actually within side of Iran, the people of Iran, they were given a tremendous incentive to find this pilot. Despite the peril, the officer followed his training and climbed into the treacherous mountain terrain and started climbing toward a higher altitude, something they were trained to do in order to evade capture. They want to always go as far away from the site of the shoot down. You want to go as far away because they all head right to that site. You want to be as far away as you can. And he was injured, and he was an amazing, amazing thing. He scaled cliff faces, bleeding rather profusely, treated his own wounds, and contacted American forces to transmit his location. They have a very sophisticated beeper-type apparatus that is on them at all times. And when they go out on these missions, they make sure they have lots of battery space, and they're in good shape. And this one worked really well, amazingly, saved his life. We immediately mobilized a massive operation to retrieve him from the mountain holdout, and he kept going higher and higher. The mountain kept getting rougher and rougher, and really very, very hard to find. This second rescue mission involved 155 aircraft, including 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 refueling tankers, 13 rescue aircraft, and more. We were bringing them all over, and a lot of it was subterfuge. We wanted to have them think he was in a different location because they had a vast military force out there. Thousands of people were looking. So we wanted them to look in different areas, so we were scattered it all over like we were right on top of them. We had 7 different locations where they thought, and they were very confused. They said, well, wait a minute, they've got groups here, they've got groups there. It's an amazing thing. I was listening to these great people, these great generals. General Raisin Kane was amazing, and Pete Hegseth was amazing. But I listened to the whole thing. It was pretty amazing. So they had all these different sites where everybody thought he was located. We think we have him over there because they have 9 planes circling a little area that's 25 miles down the coast. So in a breathtaking show of skill and precision, lethality and force, America's military descended on the area, the real area, engaged the enemy, rescued the stranded officer, destroyed all threats, and exited Iranian territory while taking no casualties of any kind. The heroic F-15 weapons system officer had evaded capture on the ground in Iran for almost 48 hours. That's a long time when you're in tough shape and when you're bleeding. It's a long time. When we left, as you probably know, we had 2 large planes, pretty old planes that carried a lot. We needed a lot more equipment going in than coming out, obviously, because going in, we needed to be able to scale mountains. And we had a lot of equipment. But the sand was sandy, wet sand. So we thought there may be a problem taking off because of the weight of the plane, and then you also had all the men jumping back onto the planes, and they got pretty well bogged down. And we had a contingency plan, which was unbelievable, where lighter, faster aircraft came in, and they took them out. We blew up the old planes, and we blew them up to smithereens because we had equipment on the planes that, frankly, we'd like to take, but I don't think it was worthwhile spending another 4 hours there taking it off. So we didn't want anybody to have. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. We didn't want anybody examining our anti-aircraft and other equipment. So these were large planes that were old and pretty old, and we blew them up. And we had faster, lighter planes come in, and they were able to land on the sand. We needed the bigger planes because we had so much equipment that we needed. We took 3 helicopters over there, which were very strongly used and couldn't have lived without them. They did, and they performed unbelievably well. And if you'd see it, you wouldn't believe it. They came off the plane, and these guys had them. The rotors were off. They rebuilt these helicopters in less than 10 minutes. And that was one of the more amazing things. These are helicopters, small, unbelievably powerful, but small, very small, so it can get into certain areas. And they got them off the plane, and they rebuilt all 3 of them in a matter of I would say less than 10 minutes. It's pretty amazing what the genius of these people. Who would think that? You'd think it would take 5 days to build them. And in some companies, it would take 5 days, and they wouldn't do it well. But they served us well. As Commander-in-Chief, I never forget the extraordinary risk taken by the warriors that we send into battle, and the genius. I mean, think of it, having a contingency of 3 planes waiting because we think the sand is so bad that we probably won't be able to take off. And the planes really got bogged. This was not much of a runway. This was a farm, not a runway. It's a farm, but it did the trick. But to have a contingency as opposed to having to wait 2 days, can you imagine right in the middle? This was central. This was right, you would call it central casting if you were doing a movie for location. And probably the toughest area of Iran where we'd be sitting there. So these planes came in, those pilots came in so fast and so quick and got out of there. Everybody got aboard and just got 15-minute intervals. 1 load out, 1 load out, 1 load out. It happened, and we were watching, and we said, "That's amazing." It's in many ways, I was almost more impressed by the contingency that we had than the fact that if we would have had a runway or decent soil. But it was an amazing thing. But we thank God for every single one of them. And the talent, the genius is not even talent, it's genius. It's the whole ball game, every one of them. Now, if you look at what we did with Maduro, we went into a military compound, a massive, with thousands and thousands of soldiers, and within a matter of minutes, and he lived behind iron doors. There were steel doors, broke them down so quickly, and within almost minutes, he was in the back of these planes. It was a similar group. Incredible. We have incredibly talented people. And if the time comes, we move heaven and earth to bring them home safely. We're going to bring our people home safely. I want to thank every member of the U.S. Armed Forces involved in these historic operations. They really were historic. It's just not something that's done. And you'd understand it. Not that they don't want to do it, but when you're going into areas, when you look at these helicopters, when you look at the amount of bullets and everything else that they took, when you go into these areas, you don't come out like we came out. God was watching us, I tell you. Well, it was the Easter, we were in an Easter territory, I guess, but God was watching us. Amazing. Because when you look at the machinery, they took damage. It tells you, first thing I said is, these are unbelievable machines, how they flew back and not even much of a problem. But these 2 extraordinary rescues, because it was 2, and as you probably know, we didn't talk about, so whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out, because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know who, and you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do, because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation because a leaker leaked that we have one, we've rescued one, but there's another one out there that we're trying to get. So actually, the country, Iran, put out a major notice, you all saw it, offering a very big award for anybody that captures the pilot. So in addition to a hostile, very talented, very good, very evil military, we had millions of people trying to get an award. So when you add that to it, but we have to find that leaker because that's a sick person. Probably didn't realize the extent of how bad it was. I can't imagine that the person did, but we're going to find out. It's national security, and the person that did the story will go to jail if he doesn't say, and that doesn't last long, and I think everybody would understand it. They put this mission at great risk. They put that man at great risk, and they put the hundreds of people that went in looking for him, because everyone now knows that we're going in. Over the past 37 days, America's armed forces have carried out more than 10,000 combat flights over Iran, unheard of, striking more than 13,000 targets. The F-15 we lost last week was the first manned aircraft downed by the enemy in this entire operation with thousands and thousands of flights. They got lucky. It was a lucky hit. You know, eventually you get lucky. But
do you think you'll ever retire, and how old do you think you'll be when that happens?
I'll probably retire.
What age?
I'll say 50.
50? That's pretty optimistic. Is crypto a way to get there quicker?
I think potentially, if you play it right.
What can we do to get people on campus involved in crypto and young people in general?
Something has to change regarding the policies. And I know like the whole point is to be decentralized, but feels a little shady to me.
There's so many capabilities like transfer payments, that's huge, right? It's tough to really think about, oh, what's the underlying value here? So there's got to be a lot of solutions that crypto has that we need to make use of.
You're holding your bags?
Yeah.
Nice, let's go. Respect, brother.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
there was barely any room to land. Tiny little patch of very wet earth and sand. So I'm so proud of the people that I have standing up here with me and many others that worked. I mean, so many. Steve Witkoff's over here. He's doing fantastically. Jared Kushner. But the people that are here, the job they did is amazing. And I think I'm going to introduce the head of the CIA, and he is a man who, he's central casting, okay? If we cast a movie, he's going to play the head of the CIA. He's one of the few. John.
And those were some comments there from just yesterday with President Trump after he issued this statement this morning as that deadline for Iran expires at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And again, that's to open the Strait of Hormuz. Stepping away for a commercial break, we do have some breaking news to take you out to after this. And I wanted to just give you this live look before we step away. This is a live look there. It appears the feed may have just frozen for us, but this is a massive warehouse fire. This is taking place in Ontario, California. That's just about 45 minutes east of Los Angeles. Checking in with our Fox LA team after this commercial break. Stay with us.
Boom. Wink, bippity boppity boo. I hope you guys weren't having to watch these commercials for too long. I'm sorry. Had to swap some laundry out. We are just a little under 20 minutes left until the opening bell. What kind of day are we going to have today? Guys, I'm pretty sure I have been screaming it from the rooftops that oil is going to be center stage. And it might not do much of anything until after 8 p.m. today, when we finally decide to bomb the living hell out of Iran, which they have coming. They will not surrender. They will not stop. They will not put down their arms. They will not concede a damn thing. At all. Ever. They're on a mission from God. As ridiculous as that sounds, it's true.
Look,
What's this?
That's coming in from our chopper there. And in just a moment, we are going to check in with our Fox 11 LA team.
A warehouse fire.
Covering this extensively, but suspected arson has sparked this massive fire there at this Ontario warehouse. Once again, that is about 45 minutes east of Los Angeles. Let's head over to our Fox 11 LA team.
Of course, it's California.
They were just speaking with a reporter who is out there this morning.
Jackasses in California.
More from the deputy chief as well, and keep you posted, of course, throughout the morning on this massive fire right here in Ontario.
Fix your microphone, woman.
I believe to have started inside.
All right, we're gonna have to cut you right there because your mic sucks.
Employees,
there you go.
and what was done to evacuate the employees? Because it looks like this fire had spread pretty quickly.
We do know, I believe, that fire did start inside the warehouse as well. But in terms of who reported it first, that's still being looked at, I believe, correct?
They're thinking it's arson, are they?
Was fire first reported by an employee,
Whoa.
or do we know is this residents nearby?
Yeah, sorry. I don't give a shit about a fire in California. Sorry, if you do, you can go watch it. Right now
is incredible, and it's just a great thing of pride to watch it play out here. And a full-bird colonel, the old man, runs up 7,000 feet of mountain and says, "I'm going to be just fine. I took care of my wounds. Where's my C-17?"
What?
Wait, bring it on. And
Why
the
is
very
this
first
backwards?
Message, God is good, right? The very first
God is
message.
good.
God is good. Gentlemen, so good to
What
talk
the
to you.
hell is
Retired
going
U.S.
on
Navy
here?
SEAL Chief Talent Officer of Overwatch Mission Critical, Mike Sorelli, and
Okay,
retired
sorry.
Brigadier General.
I've got to get rid of that because I don't know what the hell happened there. Randomly, things just decide to flip. I haven't even touched that square. So give me 1 second, baby, and I'll get Newsmax back up to where we can actually see it. The caption, the reason why I clicked on this was the caption. The headline said, "Trump, an entire civilization will die tonight." And I just had to see what they were saying and if there was something new going on. So
electrical power may get cut. The emergency radio gives you the vital information you need. Newsmax
Bear
wants you
with
to
me.
have Dynamo Emergency Band Radio. It
Oh, come
doesn't
on.
need batteries and works in any emergencies. It retails for $30. You can get it with the free offer. Call
I don't
or go
care.
online and get the emergency radio today. Your life may depend on it.
What
Not
will
today.
you do when the power goes out?
They should be selling those. They need to be selling those to Iran. All right. Well, they're talking about friggin' fire in California. Sorry, I hope nobody's hurt, but I just don't care. There are other things that are more important.
As beneficial to the insurers as they once had.
All right, John, great having you on the program. John Tuzzi there covers insurance for us. Let's get a quick check on what's going on in these markets. In terms of futures, S&P futures now down. They had been down for most of the morning, turned higher around 4 and stayed there for a while. Now we've turned lower after President Trump's latest Truth Social post. You can see NASDAQ futures off 0.6.
What did he post?
Now, and crude now showing significant gains with NYMEX crude up to $115.22 a barrel. Still the May contract.
Yes, yeah.
Right, and the June contract is the front month for Brent, which is why it's trading at less than that at $110.
It's still notable to point out because that is a big uptick in price, and the backwardation between that contract and 1 6 months out is the most extreme on record. Some big pricing in this oil market that maybe isn't totally necessarily reflected in other risk assets. Some of the other movers on our radars this morning, I mentioned Apple, those shares down 1%. A report that the foldable iPhone is hitting engineering setbacks and could see shipment delays.
Hard to fold. Novo Nordisk is pricing its new high-dose Wegovy shot at $399 a month for cash pay payments. That's about 40% less than what Eli Lilly charges for most of the doses of Zepbound.
And Delta boosting fees for first and second checked bags by $10. It will report earnings due out tomorrow, but following in the footsteps of JetBlue, United, and others, trying to get more fees where they can.
Coming up, billionaire Bill Ackman pitches a $65 million deal to take over Universal Music Group, the label of Taylor Swift. More on that next. This is Bloomberg Open Interest.
Who cares? I know I don't.
Know how the market day started.
Find out how it finishes.
Public markets to private markets.
From the micro to the macro.
Covering retail, entertainment, the business of sports.
The supply chains, trade policy, how it all is impacting the U.S. equity market as we drive to the closing bell at 4 p.m.
A holistic approach to covering financial markets.
If it matters to your life, we're covering it. I'm Katie Greifeld.
And I'm Romaine Bostic, and this is The Close.
Live every weekday.
Only on Bloomberg. Context changes everything.
Yep. About 80% of projects will find it difficult to secure financing. And this is really all because of the level of readiness or preparation. As you know, for investment to occur, you need well-prepared, technically prepared projects, but they must also demonstrate economic and financial impact. So one of the major challenges is the stock or availability of bankable projects in countries. Almost all countries have got good plans and ideas, but when you look at the readiness of those projects, that's a major obstacle. And that is why the African Development Bank, through the African Water Facility, invests heavily in upstream preparation of projects to enable countries to have a large pool of investable projects. The second element that is an obstacle is the institutional and regulatory environment in most countries, which make it difficult for investment to happen.
The world's business and financial news whenever and wherever it happens. I'm Michael McKee at Mount Everest, and this is Bloomberg.
Good morning. This is Bloomberg Surveillance.
Welcome back to the opening trade.
Watch Bloomberg Tech.
This is the Asia trade.
This is Wall Street Week. Welcome to Balance of Power.
You're watching Bloomberg Deals.
Welcome to Bloomberg This Weekend.
This is Bloomberg Television.
Let's get now to high interest. Look what's making headlines around the world. Deutsche Bank says its U.S. distressed debt desk more than doubled first quarter profit to over $100 million. The gains were mostly driven by bets against software debt. Telecom and chemicals trades also contributed, along with a deal involving AMC during a volatile quarter marked by geopolitical tensions and rising inflation concerns. Speaking of war-driven volatility, slammed top hedge funds last month, with tiger cubs like Tiger Global and Maverick down as much as 7%, hit by oil shocks and fading rate cut bets. But quant firm 2 Sigma defied the sell-off, gaining up to 3% in one of its funds and outperforming peers despite ongoing leadership turmoil. And billionaire activist Bill Ackman is pitching a $65 billion deal for Universal Music Group, the world's largest music company. Pershing Square Management is offering $10 billion in cash plus shares and pushing for a long-delayed U.S. listing. Ackman says the plan could unlock about $16 billion for buybacks and growth, but without support from UMG's top shareholder, the deal could very well fade to black. Is that a Metallica reference? Is that?
Yeah, I'm gonna assume they own Metallica, or they're the label for Metallica, right?
No. I see.
Yeah, they are.
Or maybe,
They are.
I mean, I know they were with Electra
Whoever wrote
Records.
that.
Well done.
Nice job.
Well done. Joining us now to discuss more is Bloomberg senior strategist Neil Campling. Neil, why even go after this target if it has a controlling shareholder?
I think that this is a deal that's kind of born out of frustration, if you like, with the performance of UMG shares. It's a transaction that's been described by some as very smart by Ackman, but also highly misleading. And misleading in terms of, as you referenced, there are some core shareholders here who are unlikely to vote for such a transaction. So what it does is it helps underline that there are probably some better value creation opportunities here for a label that owns extremely valuable content, but also at the same time it is kind of suggesting perhaps that the offer as such is not quite at the premium that it turns out is being offered because of the complexity of the structure of the transaction, and it has some very should we say generous assumptions in the valuations. For example, the valuation is a 25 times price earnings multiple is assumed in the valuation of where the stock will be goes forward. Now, that there's no European media company that trades on anything like that kind of multiple.
7 minutes,
and also
still the market open.
Universal, because of the catalogue and the investments in new content, and having such artists as Taylor Swift as one example, their cash conversion is much lower than many media companies. It's about 2/3 of the cash generation. So there are a lot of sort of issues underneath the hood, if you like, in terms of what this value of such a deal could actually really be.
By the way,
if it even comes to fruition.
I remember when President Trump tweeted simply and in all caps, "I hate Taylor Swift." And Bill Ackman, obviously a big supporter of President Trump. So it'll be interesting to see what she thinks of this acquisition, maybe better than Scooter Braun. The French shareholder, Vincent Bolloré, owns, 18.5% of this company, and then his family owned, Vivendi owns another 10%, so almost 30% that he basically controls. Do we know what he thinks?
We've had no comment thus far from those shareholders. Certainly, if you look at the last EGM when proposals have been made, the proposals made at the last EGM were voted down, and most people that I've spoken to who are close to the situation suggest that they would vote against such a transaction. So it does feel like this is highlighting a frustration from Ackman and activists.
Yeah, we're literally just dicking around until market opens. I've got me a corn dog in the air fryer, baby. Gonna eat a corn dog when the market opens, if it's ready in 5
which would
minutes.
never be tolerated in their own country. Your reaction?
I've written 2 books on how the Islamic regime in Iran has huge influence inside our country, and that the elite that is ruling Tehran is acting very normally inside the United States. Why? Because after 8 years of an Obama administration that signed a deal allowing this to happen, actually sending $150 billion to the regime, of course they're going to feel very comfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And another 4 years of a Biden administration that dealt with hostages, paid them money to get hostages back, where that's very normal that these elites of that regime would be living the best life here, and on top of it, go on social media and attack us and actually threaten the United States.
You are
Dr.
on
Wally
crack
Harris, sir,
if you
always
think
good to have you.
America is going to put up with Islam invading this country. I'll be damned. There are millions of people out there with itchy trigger fingers just waiting for an excuse. Just waiting for an excuse. And I happen to be one of them. I'll be damned if Sharia law creeps its way into this country. Hell no. What do you think? I'm going to go ahead and assume that most of you agree. And if you don't, you have a hole in your head, or you need one. Oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. Oh my God.
Musk and host of the What's Bugging Me podcast, Dennis Neal. Dennis, so we're sitting in our post-editorial meeting after our broadcast yesterday. You happen to be hanging back. You were about to go on another show. We start talking about fuel prices. You jump in.
And just for a little refresher,
NASA mission to
let's see what Artemis is up to.
To innovate for the benefit of humanity and to inspire the world through discovery. And as you've gone along on this
3
journey
minutes
with
till
us,
the market opens.
hopefully we're doing just those things. And as we get close to the nearest point to the moon and farthest point from Earth, as we continue to unlock the mysteries of the cosmos, I would like to remind you of one of the most important mysteries there on Earth, and that's love. Christ said, in response to what was the greatest command, that it was to love God with all that you are.
Well, that's refreshing. That's refreshing to hear. Sorry, but, you know, when you're in space, not that I disagree with anything you said, I don't, but you're in space, bro. Soak it up. Look, all the dumb people are like, huh, what does that mean? It means I love you, baby.
Only on Bloomberg.
2 minutes till the opening bell. I'm going to check on my corn dog. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Oil markets gaining and futures giving up earlier gains, first on reports that there were U.S. strikes on Carg Island, and then this from the president putting on Truth Social saying a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back, but going on to say that there has been a total regime change with smarter, less radical minds, maybe something revolutionary and wonderful can happen. Let's get the view from Wall Street. Ann Maletti, Allspring Global Head of Equity Investments, joins us now. Ann, 8 p.m. ET tonight. It is a huge event risk, and President Trump only ratcheting up some of the rhetoric that he's using. What do you do with this?
You know, Danny, this is a tough one for all investors. As we know, President Trump likes to negotiate in the public, right? So we have to deal with the Truth Socials, the tweets that go out all of the time. And I think most fundamental investors pay much more attention to what's happening at the company level. And so we're focused on that, obviously focused on earnings season, and really trying to assess if this is just an inflation scare or if it really is going to eat into the future
I love
prospects
a good
of
corn
growth for
dog,
many of our
baby.
companies.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think we're going to see? I mean, in terms of earnings, right? We're still expecting double-digit earnings growth from the S&P 500, even after watching oil go from below $60, and I'm talking about NYMEX here, to over $115 a barrel. So it's essentially doubled. Is that not a big input cost for these companies?
You know, Matt, you're targeting something I was just looking at this morning. When you look at earnings estimates, especially as you progress out into the second half of the year, the growth rates for earnings are still remarkably strong. And so, again, I don't know that investors will care too much about what companies report, but they will care about what management teams are saying about the rest of the year. And there will be some sectors and certainly many companies that are impacted by input costs. And it's not just gas and oil, but certainly other materials that are impacted by this conflict as well.
Hey, and you're going to stick with us through the opening bell. That's Ann Maletti of Allspring with the start of your cash equity trading. Just moments away, less than 5 minutes. As we head lower after 4 consecutive days of gains, that starts to undo itself as these markets try to understand how it should be prepping for an event risk at 8 p.m. tonight. Brent crude.
Is my time off or something? No, it's 9:30.
Writ large, just looking at that sector ETF and the SP 500 hasn't been this low since 2023 and sits at a place that's lower than the multiple for the S&P 500 index itself. So that is throwing off a signal that it's time. We've likely bottomed out, and I think we've seen flashes of this in a couple of updates that we've seen over the past 5 weeks. Technology's outperformed everything else, and I think that's a view to what's to come. If we find an off-ramp to this war, I think tech can explode here, and coming from a very, very low
collapse. Wow.
Art, you've been doing this for a hot minute. Could you just please remind folks, viewers out there, that there are other tech stocks besides the Mag 7?
Yeah, well, you can buy the tech sector ETF, or you can start looking at what's very oversold, extremely oversold, and that's all software companies, with the assumption that AI is going to somehow disrupt them all. So to me, I think software is probably cheaper than hardware.
ST Microelectronics.
Looking at things beyond, to your point, the Mag 7, digging down deeper at some of the other artificial intelligence winners here. I think you can find a multitude of bargains out there right now, and I certainly wouldn't sleep on most of the Mag 7 right now. I take Tesla out of that, but I think the Mag 7 trading at multiples we haven't seen forever, and Nvidia's trading at a multiple that's cheaper than the S&P, growing its earnings north of 60% and throwing off 72% gross margin. So I don't think you have to throw that baby out with the bathwater, but I certainly think there's a lot of valuation attractiveness to the tech sector right now.
Feeling your vibe here, Art. Brooke, over to you. Why is it so noisy down there at the NASDAQ? I'm guessing they're cheering because you're there, Brooke.
I mean, they were pumping up music. They were cheering. It's Greenland Energy ringing the bell tonight. I know we'll hear from them later on this quarter, or later on today during today's trading session. But certainly, I mean, what we're hearing all throughout the NASDAQ, throughout the industry, and from so many strategists on the street, is that this is certainly a time in which
sick person. And the second missing airman was first reported by Amit Siegel, a reporter for Channel 12 in Israel, who says he was unaware at the time he was the first to report on the leak. Siegel told the New York Post that he will not reveal his source. Other outlets here in the U.S., the Washington Post, Reuters, and CBS
playing
News,
a dangerous game.
They ran stories on the topic shortly after, citing U.S. and Israeli sources. But President Trump has set a precedent for dealing with leaks. Remember, in January, the FBI seized the phone and laptops of Washington Post reporter Hannah Nathanson while raiding her Virginia home as part of an investigation into a government contractor accused of leaking classified information. Many states and Washington, D.C. have shield laws in place to protect journalistic sources, but no federal protections exist, which means the Trump administration will try to compel the reporters to disclose their sources because of national security reasons.
And they'll fight
Shannon,
that, too.
We'll see how this all plays out.
Logan Raddick watching it closely in Washington. Logan, thank you.
They will
and you
cite
are doing a fantastic
freedom
job,
of
and
information
hello,
and all that.
Special hello to Artemis 2. Today
Whistleblowers.
you've made history and made all America really proud, incredibly proud. We have a lot of things to be proud of lately, but this is there's nothing like what you're doing, circling around the moon for the first time in more than a half a century.
Yes, sir.
And breaking the all-time record for the farthest distance from planet Earth. Humans have really never seen anything quite like what you're doing.
Fist bumps all the way around from the crew there as they chatted with the president last night. He might call it a perfect phone call this morning. The president calling to congratulate the Artemis 2 crew after returning from the far side of the moon. They certainly broke the record.
Love him or hate him. Love him or hate him. Trump is one funny motherfucker. I don't know about you, but I get a laugh almost daily from the news or from the president. Quite a unique character. Like him or not.
Christian, I don't forget about the work you do.
He is your daddy, boy.
That we still have a lot of big Fed meetings coming up this year, and then especially right after some of this inflation data we're supposed to get this week.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. It is looking more and more likely that the Fed remains on hold, at least for the short term here through the summer months. You heard from Chair Powell last week, as well as some regional Fed bank presidents like Alberto Musalem from the St. Louis
I find it interesting that the only thing, it seems, in the tech sector moving is Broadcom. And it has a huge jump of 5%. It's pretty big for the first 10 minutes of the market opening compared to everything else. It's not quite 5%, but it's there. It's a lot. What is this? What's this? What's this? What's this? This is another one of the movers, the big, in the up direction. Intel. I should have known. Should have known. Intel to join Musk's Terafab mega AI chip product. Oh, well, there it is. Intel to buy back $14 billion of stakes from Apollo, eh? Intel gaining from the helium disruption. Really? Intel may gain a strategic advantage from disruptions in global helium supply linked to escalating tensions in the Middle East, according to an analyst report. Helium is particularly useful for making semiconductors, notably for cooling chips and lithography. Supply issues induced by geopolitical instability, like the ongoing conflict between the U.S. and Iran, would undoubtedly affect manufacturers who rely on imports from the region. Intel's dependence on U.S. helium could help it avoid these challenges, making it a more reliable supplier than East Asian competitors who rely more on global supply lines. This advantage can make Intel more attractive to U.S. tech companies who want to be sure they can receive what they need. All right. Well, that right there is the direct response. I mean, look at this, man. This is yesterday's market open. Bang! And then right towards the end of the day, bang! And that wasn't yesterday. It was the day before. This is yesterday. And then bang. Dude, this is some really good moves right here. Intel's looking golden. But for how long? It's not in the oversold territory or overbought. I get those two mixed up. High RSI. It's not too high. It gets high when it, crosses that 70 mark. That's when you can expect a drop, as you see right here. And it looks like it's approaching that again. What would be an excellent move is when it gets back down into the 40s, I would buy a call. Yeah, that might be a golden opportunity. When you catch it on the way down, it'll be cheaper. But yeah, there's a sure trend, a very obvious trend going on here. Of course, when I buy it, it'll probably be when it crashes. That's how it goes for me. I don't know about you. Ouch, look at NVIDIA taking a dump. Big time, major league dump. There's a little good bit of red, but it's not too bad. Broadcom is up 4%. Alphabet, ExxonMobil, Netflix, Chevron, AMD, Coca-Cola, Applied Materials, United Health, Lam Research, Intel. These seem to be the major players today. Let's see what the ridiculous players are. Up 260,000%. Congratulations. If you invested $1, you're up $2,600. Yeah, sure. Those numbers don't always mean what they suggest. I'm not, this week I'm not seeing too many tokenized stocks like I was a couple of weeks ago. That seemed to be hitting pretty hard. I think that's one of those things that really does fine when there's no other major concerns going on in the world. Before the war is really what I'm talking about. It's like silver is taking a drop along with gold. Gold's a little sideways. Oil, Buddy, oil is. I mean, I've never been so sure of anything in my life, and it should be pretty obvious to anybody. It's not like I've got any anything you don't have. You don't have a secret crystal ball about oil. It's pretty obvious that it's going to run. Apple taking a decent hit. The energy sector's doing just fine. Who's the loser? Who's losing in the energy sector right now? Who da shaban? I know. Oh, ouch. Look at that. Yikes. Sucks to be Phillips 66 right now. Huh. Well, I mean, it recovered it, right? So it's fine, but ouch. That must have been some whale seller offloading. Although I don't know why the hell you'd do that right now. Oil. Okay. Oh, hey, before I go, did anyone watch the new Star Wars show, Maul, Shadow Lord? I gotta say, that was a pretty cool show. I love the whole story of Maul and his character arc over all the TV shows, the Clone Wars, Rebels. They even threw him in to the end of that movie. Shit, I can't think. My mind's been on stocks and money. Anyway, the show was badass. It was, interestingly, their choice of music is a little different than what Disney Star Wars has typically been. It's good. I liked it. The first episode was just a huge pow right out of the gate. Strong, very strong. The second episode seemed like it flew by really quick. It was a little short. And, but yeah, very solid. Of course, they've got to play within the confines that they've created for themselves with the release of that horrible trilogy that they put out against, where they trashed George Lucas's original story ideas and went with something of their own. So now they've got to write these stories that fit in those boxes. So the red chick, the red tweel, Darth Revan, I think was that her? No, I can't. My brain's scrambled. I've been dealing with money all morning, and now I try to jump over to Star Wars. But yeah, by and large, good show, man. Good show. They're going to be releasing 2 episodes per week for 5 weeks for a total of 10 episodes. I think we're going to get a good Maul and Darth Vader battle. Neither one of them's going to win because, there's more story ahead. Obviously, Darth Vader's not going to lose. But, yeah. All in all, man, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10 so far for the first episode. The second one, they started focusing a little hard on Lawson. Now, yeah, there's something about that. There's something about the show that bothered me was the names. Some of the character names were just like no thought went into it. The law guy, his name's Lawson. And then Nicodemus, what? Come on. That's just lazy writing. But still a solid show. Disney's not paying me, although I wish they would. Anyway, you know what? I do believe that's going to be it, guys. You know what the size of it is today. We're waiting on to see what what happens with Trump and his 8 p.m. deadline. Be back here at like 7:45-ish. I'm going to live stream the news. I don't even know what's going to be in the news. But I don't know about you, but I am eager to see what happens. So, stay tuned. I'll see you then. Love you in the mouth. Peace, love, and hair grease.